It's talking season, Diesel. That means that we have to get the Heisman odds out there. We have to decide who the Heisman will be in 2024 on July the 3rd. There's only one answer. We have to decide today. The only thing that matters is what comes out of mine and your mouth about the Heisman. Nobody else's. I don't care who the Heisman voters are. The only thing that you should care about is what comes out of these speakers right here. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryce, and this is Wire to Wire on the Fan. Upstate 2024 Heisman Trophy odds are fascinating. I love looking at the odds. And no South Carolina Gamecock on this list. Breaking news. No Clemson Tiger on this list. Breaking news. Are you surprised by that?
No, not surprised. I mean, I'm surprised in the general sense that not a single Tiger is on there. But when you know these rosters, Cole, when you start looking down them, you can say, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that makes sense. There should be a Clemson Tiger somewhere on this roster, on this list. Right? There should be a quarterback. There should be a wide receiver on this list somewhere, even if they're long odds. I mean, that's got to start, adding to the list of reasons why Dabo may have to start changing his mind on a couple of these things.
No, surely not.
Yeah.
Surely not. Not Dabo. 18. Vegas has 18. I guess I don't want to say favorites, but 18 candidates rather to win the 2024 Heisman. Let us know on the text line 71307. Go ahead and save that in your phone. Just make sure you start the text with the word fan. That's 71307. Let us know what you think about each one. And just a little teaser, 5 o'clock fight today. We'll talk about a Clemson Tiger being left off this list, and if we buy any stock in that, you can guess who that Tiger is.
The real odds, Cole, what are the odds that I'm going to be able to walk right tomorrow? What are the odds that I strained a muscle, that I pulled a groin trying to hopscotch in the hallways earlier?
Yeah, I put out a tweet.
Yeah, we had a bit of a situation here as we both came into the studios. They are installing brand new carpet upstairs in the radio station, and it's bougie. It's nice. We love the fact that this is going in, but just so happened to be that our little hallway, our little cutout corner of the building was not finished yet. And both areas that we needed to get to had a huge gap from the edge of the carpet that was already laid to the room that we needed to get into.
Just a bunch of super glue.
Yeah, just a bunch of glue. If it was just the tile, yeah, step on it. Yeah. But no, it was glue. And so here we are, Cole. I need our audience to envision this, okay? I'm walking into the hallway where our office door is. We share an office. We're friends, believe it or not. And from the edge of the carpet that's laid down to the doorway, easily 3.5, 4 feet. And there's nowhere to reach over and put your foot as a foothold so that I could, turn the lock, open the door, get into the office. No, none of that. So
yeah,
here
but you
I
have
am.
longer legs than I do.
I'm like toes on the edge of the carpet, leaning over as far as I can, hand on the wall, unlocking the door. And then here I am in a no man's land. And I'm leaning across this area. It's if I fall, I'm going to get covered in super glue. I wish I could
have seen that so bad.
And I got to shove off the wall to sort of stand back up as best I can. And then I got to get a running start to get into our office.
Yeah, I put a video on X. You can see that video at the Cole Bryson. I just tried to use the excuse of me having short legs, so I couldn't work today, so I had to go home.
Yeah, boss, I got to go home.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
can't get into the studio.
There's no way I can get in. I don't want to mess up the guys who are working really hard out there. I don't want to mess up their project.
They're probably getting paid more to be here than we are.
Probably. And, I don't think we should be working the same day they're working. It would be a lot more respectful for us to be out of their way, Just sitting by the pool, relaxing, not interfering with their work.
Hey, however, I am great at staying out of the way.
Oh, yeah,
I can get a Heisman trophy for staying out of the way.
Especially if you say don't come in, right? So we got new carpet. Celebrate us. How about that? Big time. We're big time now. We have new carpet in the upstairs hallway. Suck it, sales.
Texter asks a good question. He says, Diesel, I know this was a former guest on the show, but can't you get Brent Beard to come on and come back to the show? Yeah, we could absolutely get Brent Beard to come back to the show. Brent's a great guy. I've got his phone number. Call him up, text him up. I'm sure he would say yes.
He's a super nice guy.
Yeah, he's great.
I filled in with you one day, and we had him on. He was super nice.
He's so easy to have a conversation with. I mean, it's really hard to have a 15-minute conversation about the Heisman without it being, hey, Brent, tell us about candidate 1. Tell us about candidate 2. Tell us about candidate 3. And what's coming up next? Guess what? Tell us about candidate 4.
Well, we had a
That's
Heisman.
dull.
We had a Heisman voter on yesterday. Texter from the 803. We had a Heisman voter on this very show in David Hood. Did you know that?
I didn't know David was a Heisman voter.
Sure is.
Wow.
He sure is. Yeah. Add that to his resume, right? He sure is. Yeah. We'll have to. And look, David's already told me. David does a great job. If you heard that interview yesterday, you can go back and listen to it on the Odyssey app if you didn't. But David's already said. I saw him at the baseball game. He said, "Look, during football season, hey, we'll do it every week if you want to."
Sweet.
Super nice guy. Super nice guy. Appreciate David being willing to hop on anytime we want him to. All right. 2024 Heisman odds. The overwhelming majority might disagree that Carson Beck at Georgia is plus 800. Diesel, tell me if I'm wrong here. If I'm putting money, if I'm putting any chunk of change on this for the 2024 Heisman, I'm going with the number 2 guy who's not far behind him, Quinn Ewers, Texas, plus 900. You bet 10 to win 100. Carson Beck, not much difference. You bet 10 to win 90. They're not far separated. However, Vegas does have Carson Beck as the favorite, and I don't think that's right. I think Quinn Ewers is the best quarterback in the country.
You might be right. But the Heisman Trophy almost has exclusively become an award for who is the quarterback of the best team in the country. It's not who is the best player. This isn't even the best quarterback award, despite the fact that it's been almost exclusively a quarterback award for a very, very long time. It's supposed to be the best player, the most impactful player on their team. Now, if it just so happens to be that the best player is the running back from Illinois, guess what? They're never going to stand a chance. They're not even going to be mentioned in that. What if a running back from Illinois was picking up 250 a game?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be mentioned. You know why? Because he's not a quarterback, not playing on a great team.
Heck, even Deshaun Watson didn't win a Heisman.
Right.
So, it didn't help that Lamar Jackson, won the Heisman that same year.
Contemporaries matter.
Sure, it does. Texter from the 770 says UGA just doesn't run the offense for Beck to win the Heisman. I agree with that.
Yeah, but you could also look at it in a number of different ways. If Carson Beck is not extremely prolific, but he is extremely efficient. Takes really great care of the football.
High completion percentage.
Throws fewer than 5 interceptions on the season. High completion percentage.
Yep.
All those sorts of things. Then he is very much going to be in the running. And if he's winning a national championship, or if he's right there in the top 4 at the end of the year, which I'm sure they will be, I think he stands a very good chance of upsetting Quinn Ewers. I do think this is Quinn Ewers to lose at this point, but I wouldn't say it's impossible for him not to win it.
Well, I agree with what you said, and I actually agree with it because of what the texter from the 770 says about their offense, Georgia's offense. It helps a lot when you have running backs that Georgia has that you can hand the ball off to. It helps when you have the talent around. Obviously, these are statements, right? These are statements that we all know. But when you have the offensive line and the running back that complement the quarterback like Carson Beck, it's easy, to your point, to be efficient. You may not have the numbers, the passing yards that Quinn Ewers has, but your efficiency numbers, your QBR might be better. I would say right now, and I want to know from you, the Tolos, 71307, start your text with the word fan. We're also live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you have to put just a small amount of money on it right now, July the 3rd, Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers, who are you taking? Again, Beck is plus 800. Quinn Ewers is plus 900. Both are good bets. Both are valuable. You're gonna win money. You're gonna profit on either one of them. And it wouldn't be a terrible idea if you're a betting guy, Diesel. It wouldn't be a terrible idea to bet on both of them, because then you're saying, okay, one of them I feel like should win.
That's called hedging.
So bet on both.
Let's not act like Quinn Ewers is going to be throwing to Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch out there. He has got elite talent all over the field. So if you want to throw a criticism of Carson Beck and say, well, he's only good because he's got great receivers around him, guess what? Quinn Ewers has got great receivers around him. Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, all these guys, Jackson Dart, they all have great receivers around them. It takes two to tango, baby. You got to have a quarterback who can get it close enough and a wide receiver who can go get it.
If I asked you right now, Beck, Ewers versus the field for the Heisman Trophy in 2024, what would you say?
Beck or Ewers, or Beck and Ewers?
Beck and. So put them
Beck
together.
And, yeah, 100%.
You're taking Beck and Ewers?
I think one of those two is absolutely going to win this thing, barring injury.
Yeah, for sure.
And the odds of both of them going down, very small. But, look, a lot of these guys, going back to the texter's criticism of Carson Beck and the criticism of Georgia's system, I mean, a lot of these guys will tell you right now, I'm not worried about winning the Heisman. All I want to do is go win a national championship. There's been a whole bunch of quarterbacks who have won the national championship as game managers. Look at half the national titles that Alabama's won over the past 15 years.
Yeah,
right.
A.J. McCarron.
They always win. They always win with game managing quarterbacks. That's good enough.
No,
game managers win national championships.
Yeah. Last year, Carson Beck, 2023, 302 completions on 417 attempts for a 72.4 completion percentage, which is pretty dang good. 3,941 yards, 24 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 167.9. So you talk about efficient. You used that word a minute ago. Carson Beck's pretty efficient in that category. Quinn Ewers not far off, though, Diesel. 2023, 272 completions, 394 attempts, 69%. You like that completion percentage? 3,479 yards, 22 touchdowns, and just like Carson Beck, 6 interceptions, 158 quarterback rating. Carson's was 167. There's not much difference between those two. I just think that when you look at the rest of the list, you said guys like Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, even Cam Ward at Miami, who we've talked a lot about this offseason, Riley Leonard, Notre Dame. Those are guys who are more like plus 2,500, bet $10 to win 260, or Jackson Dart plus 1,800, bet 10 to win 190. Those are good value bets. If you like a guy like Jackson Dart, the only thing is, though, Diesel, do you trust a guy like a Jackson Dart or a Cam Ward or even a Riley Leonard to win the Heisman? I don't.
And it's mostly because of what Ole Miss has been almost every year since the coaching staff has gotten there, and really kind of who Ole Miss has been for the last 20 years, right? They'll have seasons where they jump out and they're really, really good for the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season. Then they really get into that meat of the SEC schedule, and it's just shown that they are deficient in their roster. They don't have the depth to go toe-to-toe with the Alabamas and the LSUs of the world, especially once you get to weeks 8, 9, 10 of the season. And that's kind of who Ole Miss has always been. Now, eventually, we'll get to the point where, Lane Kiffin has recruited a deep enough and talented enough roster that's not going to matter. Ole Miss has been elite especially in recruiting in the transfer portal. And so maybe that's that great equalizer that gets them the depth they need deep into the season. I don't know. And maybe that helps prop up a guy like Jackson Dart. And, they've had great quarterbacks, but they fade down the stretch most of the time.
Jackson Dart, 2023, last year, 3,000 yards, just above 3,000, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, not far off from Carson Beck, who had 24 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Jackson Dart only having 1 less touchdown and a 162 quarterback rating compared to Carson Beck's 167 quarterback rating. So not much difference, Diesel, between the two, even though, according to Vegas, there is a huge difference when a guy like Jackson Dart's plus 1,800. Now, for the guy that everybody's going to be talking about, week 2, 3, 4, 5, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado, plus 3,500, which means if you bet $10, Diesel, you win $360. Any faith, Dolos, Diesel, in Shedeur Sanders plus 3,500? Maybe in the first 6 weeks.
I think there's a chance that Colorado loses week 1 to North Dakota State.
Oh, God.
And something like that could really hurt Shedeur Sanders' chances here. Do we believe is he old enough to go into the NFL draft this season?
After this year, I believe
After
so.
this year.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think there's a chance that Shedeur shuts things down around week 8 or week 9. If Colorado is a great story again, right, he will pump up his numbers and he will look good and people will be paying attention to him regardless of whether he finishes the season or not. I think there's a good chance that he is going to be a highly sought after draft pick and could ultimately make that decision to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and protect myself, not play down the stretch. If we're not going to make a bowl game, it doesn't seem like a smart move for my future. And I'm not going to play. Yeah.
I mean, I can see it though, right? Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And yes, he is eligible for the 2025 draft. He threw for almost 300 yards per game last year, only had 3 interceptions and 430 attempts, completed 69% of his passes while suffering 21 drops by his passers. 27 touchdown passes. Diesel ranked 12th nationally. This was despite being under pressure the majority of the season behind the nation's second worst offensive line, which gave up 56 sacks for almost 500 yards. And you know what? I was watching an interview with Deion the other day, Deion Sanders, his dad, and that is, I don't want to say an excuse, but that is what everybody, including Deion, is saying. If he has a decent offensive line, which may be true, right? It's true for every quarterback. Rattler the same way.
Just needs to be serviceable at this point.
That's right. And whose fault is it that in year 2 you don't have a good offensive line? I think that's Dad's fault, right? If you don't have a better offensive line this year, don't you say, hey, Dad, that's your fault. You're the coach. You're the guy that assembles this roster.
Didn't you tell everybody to hit the door and go find somewhere else? Go jump in that portal and that you would recruit the guys in the portal that I need to protect me over the course of the season? Well, that's your failure. You didn't accomplish that.
That's what I'm saying. Texter from the 327 says, man, my God, when's Kiffin's door for put up or shut up going to slam shut?
It's a great question, Texter.
It is.
I mean, he's been able to recruit,
I guess, Texter,
really well.
This Texter has some despair for Lane Kiffin. Would that be putting it right, Texter? That you're not the biggest Lane Kiffin fan?
Texter, I mean, he recruited what's Ole Miss in the 2025 class?
I'm going to guess 11. Top of my head, just guess. And while you look that up, I'm going to read a text from the 770. Not criticizing their offense. They are a top offense, talking about Georgia. Points per game wide, but they don't have the wow stats. Always get criticized for not having a 1,000-yard receiver since the 90s.
Okay, in the 2024 class, that would be incoming freshmen who can play this year. Ole Miss ranks 21st overall, which is not good. 11 4-stars. So they got a lot of talent. 11 4-stars, 10 3-stars. Let's take a look. But they also had the number 1 transfer portal class.
Well, that helps.
In all the country.
So if you have the number 1 portal class, does that recruiting rank even? I don't want to say does it even mean anything, but how much weight does it hold?
Yeah, the interesting thing here, and I'm looking to see, like, did they get 5-stars, guys that have been regraded? Because that's one thing that 24/7 Sports does, is it regrades guys. You can see where they were ranked as a high school prospect and where they are graded as transfer prospects. Walter Nolan, defensive lineman, he transferred in from Texas A&M. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's a 5-star transferring to South Carolina, to Ole Miss. I was looking at just below him is Juice Wells, and I know that's that it's still a little fresh and still a little raw for a lot of Gamecock fans. But I'm not blown away by the recruiting class. Maybe it's just because they got a lot of guys, right? There's a couple of dudes who were 3-stars coming out of high school who have been upgraded from 3 to 4 stars for their regrade in the transfer portal class. But like it doesn't blow me away. It's not like all these transfers coming in are 4- and 5-star guys. There's a lot of 3-star guys on this list.
You know what, though? Before we hit a break, to the texter's point, Diesel from the 327. Like, I feel like he does have a good point that maybe we don't talk about enough, because I feel like every year it's Kiffin. Kiffin's going to be good. Kiffin's going to be good. Kiffin, this may be his year, right? But at some point, doesn't Kiffin have to go produce and win?
We're in a whole new ball game now, right? Because the SEC West doesn't exist anymore. Lane Kiffin was sitting right behind Nick Saban for years. He was sitting behind LSU and obviously for the last couple of years, Kelly down there at LSU. So, I mean, the paradigm has shifted. One of the biggest obstacles, the biggest obstacle in college football is now out of his way.
So there's no excuses.
There's no excuses now, right? So I think I haven't really even looked up what Ole Miss's schedule is this year.
It's brutal.
But yeah, I'm sure it is. Like every SEC schedule is brutal, but it's changed, right? It's not what it once was. You know, looking at the schedule. Ooh, they start the season against Furman, August 31st, 7:00 game. Yeah. So, you know, Furman at home, Middle Tennessee at home, Wake Forest on the road. So that's probably starting 3-0 right there.
For sure.
Georgia Southern at home. That's 4-0. Kentucky at home, likely 5-0.
Yep.
South Carolina on the road. I'm going to go 6-0.
Yeah.
LSU on the road, 6-1. Oklahoma at home, 7-1. Arkansas on the road, 8-1. Georgia at home, 8-2. Florida on the road, 9-2. Mississippi State at home. I got 10-2.
I'll say this.
I got Ole Miss going 10-2 this year, and if that's not Lane Kiffin putting up or shutting up, I don't know what is.
No, I agree. I'll say this real quick. Looking at their schedule, it's playoff or bust.
Sure.
You have to get it. I'm not saying the schedule is easy, but you don't have Alabama, right? You don't have to worry about Kalen DeBoer and Alabama on the schedule. You have Florida. You have Georgia. Georgia's the toughest game without a doubt. I think that October 12th road game at LSU, like you said, is going to be tough as well. But if you go 10-2, you're in the playoff, right?
Sure.
You would think.
Yeah.
Unless something just crazy happens.
Yeah. I think you're in it. I think you're in at 10-2, and maybe that Oklahoma's a 50-50 game. But outside of that, I think Ole Miss is probably going to walk through a majority of this schedule.
They should.
Yeah.
They should. And if they do that, maybe Jackson Dart is a Heisman candidate, right?
When we come back, let's take a look at South Carolina's recruiting class, where they've been over the past couple of seasons, where they look to be for the 2025 class. And we'll ask the question, is Beamer getting it done? Is Beamer getting them to a point, even making progress on that all-important blue chip ratio? That's coming up next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Cole, can you believe this guy got William Brady on the stream busting my balls about the florally button-down Hawaiian shirt today? He's breaking my balls about it. Now, here's the thing. I told William, and this is true, I'm going to a metal show tonight.
A what show?
A metal show.
Y'all look at metals and...
No. It's the metal music. Metal music. Okay. It's not the hardest, heaviest band in the world, but a day to remember are playing in Simpsonville.
Okay.
Tonight, going to that show. And you know what I learned interviewing Lexi Fox, bass player of Steel Panther years ago? He goes, man, if you're going out to a show, you got to look bitchin'. You got to look rad. You got to stand out. You got to peacock, right? You got to go out.
Definitely peacocking.
Yeah. You got to, he said I needed to wear like pink spandex pants, but unfortunately mine are at the cleaners, so I'm wearing this instead. So there you go. But William also says, stand out, brother. Do your thing. I am. I'm going to stand out with a cold beer in hand a little bit later on tonight. So are the South Carolina Gamecocks standing out on the recruiting trail? Are they standing out to the point where they are approaching the absolutely critical blue chip ratio? Now, what is the blue chip ratio? This is something Athlon Sports put out a couple of years ago, and it has accurately predicted every single national champion since they started this stat.
Pretty good then, right?
Essentially, it says, and this is not like groundbreaking, right? You're going to say, duh, with the stat here. But basically, you can't win a national championship unless you're more talented than basically everybody else. So that's basically what it means, right?
Correct.
You can't win a national championship unless, at the bare minimum, 50% of your roster are blue chip recruits, 4- and 5-star guys. Now, I don't know how this thing is going to have to adjust and change in the oncoming years because, Cole, I know that you maybe dabble a little bit in this world with your focus on high school football. Mm-hmm. You know as well as I do that there are more 4- and 5-star guys or grades being handed out than ever before. Like it's become that thing where if you're a recruiting service, and there are a few, I don't know which one you, plural, the audience, and you, Cole, like more than the others, but they all have their issues, right? Some of them will grade a guy, a 4-star guy, when he's really a 3-star, or they'll grade him a 5-star when he's really a 4-star because they know that they are going to get more clicks and more downloads if they rate guys higher.
Yeah,
and
definitely
more people will ultimately come to their service if they rate guys higher than everybody else. It's a silly thing. Like I wish that they would be just as discerning as they'd always been, but hey, I don't work in that business. Maybe there's something in the water, that's just making these kids come out of high school more talented, more developed, more ready than ever. I mean, we all know that that's not really true, but at least that's what they want you to believe out of these recruiting services. So the question is South Carolina approaching that blue chip ratio? In the first couple of seasons under Shane Beamer, not counting the 2021 class, because that class was not good. It was his first recruiting class overall. They had started to approach it. They were flirting, getting up to that 50% mark. They hadn't crossed it yet, but it also has to be a 4-year average, right? It can't be one season we had a lot of 4- and 5-star guys sign on. So where have they come from and where will they go, Cotton Eye Joe?
I'm about to set it. Yeah, you beat me to it. You're the worst.
2021, 56th overall, 11th in the transfer portal. Not great. Again, Shane Beamer's first recruiting class. Not holding that against him. 2022, 24th overall. Big jump. 9th in the transfer portal. They did real well in the portal in 2022. All that rah-rah, welcome home stuff, that really stuck with a lot of recruits.
Shots fired.
Here's the problem, Cole. Here's the problem. There's been a little bit of ups and downs since then. Now, their overall is improving. It's getting a little bit better. 23, 24, and right now through the 2025 season, in the 2023 and 2024, they got inside the top 20 overall, 18th, 2023 and 2024. But the transfer portal class took a hit in 23, dropped down to 27th. In 2024, they were 16th in the transfer portal. Now, 2024 class, those are guys who are incoming this year and can play this year. who they got? They got 5-star edge Dylan Stewart. Fantastic get for the South Carolina Gamecocks. They've got 2 tackles who are 4 stars, 2 linebackers who are 4 stars, 1 wide receiver, which is Greenville's Mazio Bennett, and 1 safety. So they've got 6 4-star guys coming in this year. Only 7 guys who are blue chips coming into the roster in 2024. Now, we assume most of those guys will not see significant playing time this year as freshmen. They could. Maybe Mazio Bennett's just going to be insanely good. I hope he is, because, man, that would look good for the city of Greenville and for Greenville High. Who else they got coming in 2024? They got a linebacker, Demetrius Knight Jr., who's transferring in from Charlotte, who was, like I was saying earlier, with the 24/7 rankings, upgraded to a 4-star prospect as a transfer. Mm-hmm. He was out of high school, a 3-star guy, went to Charlotte, upgraded to a 4-star guy. You know, Charlotte did their job. They developed him, right? He's a redshirt senior in 2024. So he's got 1 year left, 1 year only to play for the Gamecocks. They got 4-star edge rusher, who's also a redshirt senior, Kyle Kennard, coming in. Rocket Sanders, running back, he's a 4-star, and defensive lineman DeAndre Jules from Pitt, all 4-star guys. So you've got 7 guys coming out of high school, and then you've got 4 guys who are transferring in who are 4 stars.
And not to make matters worse, but today South Carolina loses Taylor Edwards, their director of player personnel. So it broke earlier this morning that the guy who, again, Beamer has a lot to do with player personnel being the head coach, but Taylor Edwards, that's his job. That's his title as director of player personnel. And it came out this morning that he is no longer with South Carolina. Not sure why. I talked to a few people in Columbia, but for whatever reason, there's not a lot about why he left. But you don't want the player personnel in July. You don't want to have to make that change in July, because now you're kind of, I don't want to say starting over, but you're having to hire somebody next month.
Here's where it's on. It's critical on Shane Beamer to be able to knock it out of the park with whoever replaces him, right? Because they're not where they need to be to win a national championship. And Clemson fans, I'm sure you're going to laugh, say, oh, they were never even close anyway. Well, hey, South Carolina plays in the toughest conference in America. If South Carolina had one of those breakout seasons where, you know, they played the way they did against Tennessee and against Clemson at the end of the 2022 season, I think with an expanded playoff, there is a possibility, an outside shot that South Carolina could put together a season just right to maybe approach that conversation.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't have the talent. They don't have the talent right now. This is Sports Illustrated's assessment of South Carolina. South Carolina's blue chip ratio is below 50%, placing the Gamecocks at a disadvantage compared to elite programs. While head coach Shane Beamer has shown promise, the current talent level may hinder their ability to compete for a national title. Again, you Clemson fans are saying, duh, of course. What are the implications, though, for the Gamecocks? Again, this is Sports Illustrated's assessment. A blue chip ratio below 50% suggests significant obstacles for South Carolina in their quest for a national championship. The Gamecocks will need exceptional coaching, player development, and strategic game planning to compete against more talent-laden teams. And that's what South Carolina has faced every year, right, since joining the SEC. Playing teams that are just flat out better than them across the board, right? So what does that say? They got to get lucky. They got to get lucky, and they got to do better developing guys. Now, here's the problem. South Carolina has also been a program with the door wide open on the way out. A lot of the guys that they are developing are moving on to other programs and helping them win more than South Carolina has. They've sort of become a feeder program for the Florida States of the world, right? So they're going to be in trouble as you continue to get good guys in. 7 guys who are 4 and 5 star guys, 7 blue chip recruits to South Carolina this year. The problem is there's a culture at South Carolina where guys want to leave.
Yeah.
They don't want to stick around for 4 and 5 years.
It's true. It's not good, but it's true.
So where do they look like, or how do they look for the 2025 recruiting class? Still a long way off. National Signing Day isn't until December. I ain't calling it the early signing day. It is National Signing Day. They had to flip this, right? Was it December and February? I believe February was the previous National Signing Day. Now there's early signing day in December. They ought to call it signing day and late signing day. They don't call it that. 2025, 23rd overall. They obviously don't have a transfer portal class for 2025 yet. But as of right now, these are just commits. What did our guest, the quarterback Cutter Woods, tell us last week? To him, a commitment is a business transaction. And I will continue to maintain this business transaction with you until something better happens. That's not a quote. You can go back and find that interview if you want to hear exactly what he had to say. But I asked him, what does a commitment mean to you? And I was hoping that he would tell us something like, man, when I commit, it means everything to me. I'm here no matter what. But that's not what Cutter Woods told us. And there's a lot of recruits that kind of feel the same way he does. So 2025, 0 5 stars. That's a problem. 4 4 stars. That's below where they were in 2024. Again, very early. Very, very early. Who are those 4-star guys? Cornerback Shamari Earls, defensive lineman Caleb Williams, offensive tackle Shedrick Surratt Jr., he's from Gaffney, and Brian Rowe, wide receiver. They got 12 3-star guys coming in, which is kind of par for the course for the South Carolina Gamecocks. So, unfortunately, Shane Beamer in South Carolina not making the headway they need to be making on the recruiting trail.
You got to step it up, and losing your director of player personnel on the 3rd of July is probably not the best idea either.
They have had a whole bunch of 4-star guys on campus for recruiting visits, but unfortunately, none of them list South Carolina as their favorite. None of them are crystal balled to South Carolina. That'd be Jalen Gilchrist, offensive lineman Juan Gaston, who was supposed to announce his choice between Georgia, Oregon, Tennessee, and South Carolina yesterday, but hasn't yet. There's 4-star safety from North Carolina, Jaden Blair, and 4-star wide receiver Malik Clark from Rock Hill. They had his visit. Again, Crystal Ball has him going to North Carolina. Shane Beamer's doing a great job getting the 4-stars on campus for visits, but he's not signing enough of them.
All right, coming up next, I put this on X today, also put this on the Facebook page at The Fan Upstate. I got a lot of feedback, a good bit of feedback. A lot of the feedback, though, was the same answers. Tomorrow being the 4th of July, I ask you, the Tolos, what are the best patriotic movies ever made? And of those, we have a small list, but of the ones, of the top, 10, what's the best patriotic movie ever made? Answer that next, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. All right, for those on the stream, William, Madcraft, and 108 others, we appreciate you being there. Also, Tolos, wherever you are, Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson, worldwide on the Odyssey app. Get those texts ready. We've got to decide, and I know this is a short segment. We only have like 6 minutes. We'll come back to it in the 6 o'clock hour. But, Diesel, we have to decide what the best patriotic movie ever is. And again, like I said in the first segment, what you and I say is the only thing that matters, right? It doesn't matter what those other articles say about the Patriot or Saving Private Ryan, but there's a lot of good suggestions here. We've got about 12 total. You did bring up a good point, though. I put Gettysburg, the movie, which is a good movie, by the way. Really good movie.
It's a great movie.
I put that on here. It's a movie about the Civil War. You said maybe that's not the most liked movie here in the South.
Yeah.
But it's still patriotic, right?
You poll the audience locally, and they're going to say Gettysburg is more of a tragedy than it is a triumphant movie.
It's a good movie, though. I love it, man. I watched it like a few months ago. It really is a good movie.
Yeah, the cast in that movie was absolutely enormous. As a kid, I didn't know what I was watching. I didn't really understand the Civil War, but I loved that movie.
Sure. It's a good one. We have a lot of suggestions on our Facebook page. I do have a question, though, because let's see how many people put this. Just one so far. Hayden on the Facebook page, Diesel commented, Forrest Gump. Is that considered patriotic?
It's a patriotic movie the same way that the Christmas movie that everybody argues about every year.
I know what you're talking about. Wow, all of a sudden, Die Hard.
Yeah, it's a patriotic movie the same way Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I don't know, man. It's a great movie, but is it patriotic? I don't know that it is.
In some ways, it is. I mean, Forrest Gump, he was a war hero. He beat the tar out of some hippies who were saying the wrong things. There are patriotic undertones. He went and won ping pong tournament for America.
Ping pong. The consensus
I just
here.
love playing with my Flexo Light ping pong paddle.
I hadn't seen that in such a long time. Brandon on Facebook says Talladega Nights, no questions asked, because Ricky Bobby is a true American. He loves baby Jesus and the checkered flag, shake and bake. Again, I don't think that's the definition of a patriotic movie, but if that's what you suggest, we'll take it. The consensus is, I want to see if there's any pushback. Madcraft on the stream, plus 1, 2, 3, 4 on Facebook and 3 on Twitter, are saying the Patriot, no questions asked, hands down. Is that, I guess, the overwhelming majority? People think the Patriot's the best ever?
It is a great movie. It is, but Mel Gibson's historical movies have often taken more than a few liberties.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great movie. It's not an accurate movie, but that doesn't really matter, right? Who needs accuracy when you're talking about history?
You know what's wild? You may push back on this. I'm not the biggest Mel Gibson fan.
Really? Really? No. I mean, Braveheart's phenomenal. I grew up on Braveheart.
Yeah, Braveheart's iconic.
But also wildly historically inaccurate.
Tiger Pal Rachel on X says The Patriot. Mm-hmm. Indian Kev says The Patriot.
Okay.
We were talking about Mel Gibson, Patriot versus Braveheart. Mm-hmm. A few others on Facebook. Let's see. Dalton says The Patriot easily. Jeremy says any John Wayne movie because John Wayne is America.
So is it out of bounds here to add a miniseries to this? Because I think Band of Brothers is far more patriotic.
It's good
than The Patriot is. I know it's an HBO series.
Yeah, it's a good show, though.
Band of Brothers is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It is.
And
it's on Netflix. I watched
as many times as I've seen it, I still choke up at the last, what's one of the last lines in the entire series. It's where they're interviewing the main character, and they say, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? And he said, no, but I served in the company of heroes. You're telling me that doesn't get you going?
Well, anything that was created by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks is going to be up there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. It helps when those two literally make the movie. So we have nominations like Saving Private Ryan, American Sniper. You like that one?
Yep.
I think American Sniper no disrespect. I like American Sniper, but the more you watch it, it just kind of becomes like, you know how some movies, for example, like Pearl Harbor is a good one. Like The Patriot, you can watch it as many times and never gets old. For whatever reason, American Sniper gets old to me. I don't know why. Yeah. But
the problem with a lot of war movies is they don't paint America in the best light, right?
Yeah. I don't like the way that movie ends, man. American Sniper with the guy, what was he taking the guy behind his house to shoot or whatever, and ends up dying. I think the guy shot him.
I think Full Metal Jacket's a great movie. Obviously, it just doesn't make America look very good.
No, that's true. That's true. Independence Day.
Great one.
Good one.
Love it. Love it.
Really good one.
The remake sucked. I mean, or not a remake. It was a reboot. What? 20 years after the original? Stop. Just don't even bother at that point.
Madcraft says Pearl Harbor. William Brady says Last of the Mohicans.
No matter how far
I've never seen that.
I will find you. What?
No.
Wow.
No, I've never seen it.
Wow. That is a period in American history that is wildly under-taught. Most people don't know anything about the French and Indian Wars.
It's probably true. I mean, I couldn't tell you a lot about it. Matt asks, Hidden Figures, kind of, or Apollo 13?
I wouldn't say Apollo 13 is a patriotic movie. There's nothing in here that says, I mean, it's about the American space program, but is it about America succeeding over our enemies? Not really. I mean, I wouldn't call it.
William says he's very disappointed with me that I haven't seen Lost in Mohicans. Very disappointed.
It's great.
Now, I guess, this one's tough. You put it on here.
Yeah.
Top Gun.
Top Gun's a great movie.
Is that considered a patriotic movie?
It should be.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we're fighting the Russians.
I want to make sure.
Well, we're not necessarily fighting the Russians. It's implied that we're fighting the Russians in that one, and it's implied that we're fighting the Chinese in Top Gun Maverick.
Well, you're going to find it very hard pressed to ever get me to admit there's a better movie than Top Gun Maverick, the new one. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any movies better.
They took all the great elements from the original Top Gun. They amplified them.
And it was better.
They took some of the cheesy elements and they reworked them so they weren't quite as cheesy. And I thought it was a damn near perfect movie.
I don't think there's any question that Top Gun Maverick's way better than the first one. First one's good. I watched it not long ago.
Yeah, and
but it doesn't do it, man.
And the love interest, Penny Benjamin, was a very short mention in the original Top Gun.
Yeah.
That's why Maverick lost his wings or something early on. They were saying, "Oh, you were caught hanging out with the Admiral's daughter. You mean Admiral Benjamin? That's her." That's who they were talking about.
I can't stand when he dies.
They were talking about that. I even added Captain America. Look, if you're going to add if you're going to add Independence Day, a movie about aliens, I get to add Captain America.
That's fine.
What's more patriotic than the underdog going overseas, punching the Nazis in the face?
Texter says Red Dawn. How do we leave that one off? That's
Red
a good
Dawn,
movie.
Great movie.
Really good movie.
Great movie. There's so many to choose
for the next 2 hours.
We can, but we'll let the Tolos, which means turn it on, leave it on. We'll let you talk it out in the text line, on the text line 71307. Start your text with keyword fan in the stream on Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube. But when we come back, Cole, we got to bring this party down. We got to talk about the Braves. The Atlanta Braves. They had it right in front of them, and they lost it. What happened yesterday, and can they recover today? That's next, right here on the Fan Upstate. At this point in the game last night, Braves fans had to be feeling pretty good about their chances to win.
On Sunday, Sean Murphy gets into one to left center. Does that have enough juice? Yes, sir. Back to back. Riley and Murphy making it 2-0 Atlanta.
And well, the lead didn't hold.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, did not hold. The Atlanta Braves fell last night to the San Francisco Giants 5-3. But the good news is, if you're a Braves fan, Reynaldo Lopez was phenomenal again.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault they lost.
It was not his fault. Reynaldo Lopez was great. The bats failed them. I mean,
and the bullpen.
And the bullpen. Just a tough.
That's how I feel.
Tough stretch if you're an Atlanta Braves fan. They're now 46 and 37. Just a mere 7 games over 500. And sadly, Cole, the Atlanta Braves are becoming that get-right team to face.
Well, I guess this is terrible of me to ask, but at what point, like, we don't talk Charlotte Hornets because they suck, right? At what point do the Braves just suck bad enough that we don't even have to talk about them? I mean, I guess we will because it's the Braves.
And it's the summer and there's nothing else to talk about.
Nothing else going on. But, like, if this team gets way below 500, geez, man, I mean, they're out of contention. They're 9 games back now. I'm not saying they're out of contention now. I'm saying if they were to fall below 500, they'd be out of contention. I so badly right now as a Braves fan, Diesel, want to feel like it's okay. It's July, August, September, October, a lot of baseball left.
But we've been saying that for a long time now.
I know that's my concern. At some point you got to start winning.
I mean, it had to feel good. Again, if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, that Austin Riley and Sean Murphy went back-to-back home runs. And who hit after them? Adam Duvall hit a double off the wall after that. You were like, wow, this team is finally starting to hit again. Problem is, every batter after Adam Duvall popped up, and Hayden Birdsong, who, shout out to him, the San Francisco Giant, Hayden Birdsong, got his first win as a major league pitcher.
Of course he did.
Against the Atlanta Braves.
Freaking course.
Yeah.
God.
He threw 5 innings, gave up 2. Again, those back-to-back solo home runs. Got out of that inning with Adam Duvall on second, couple of pop outs, and his bullpen picked him up after that. The Atlanta Braves bullpen did not pick him up, did not pick up Reynaldo Lopez after that. It's just depressing to watch. And thank God, Cole, for the whoever these intrepid people are who put together highlight videos on YouTube. Like, you go back and watch this 10-minute highlight video of a game, because there's no reason to go and watch this team play right now.
No,
none whatsoever. So whoever these saints are who put this together so that we don't have to sift through an entire game. I mean, the Braves lost the hitting split, 9 hits to 6 hits. It's just tough to watch.
It's tough to watch
all around.
And what else is tough is looking at the last 7 days in the MLB. Chicago White Sox pitcher Michael Soroka in the last 7 days, one of the best pitchers in the league, former Brave. You look at last night, you're going against a former Brave and Soler. He obviously hits a home run like he always does, because that's what Soler does. I'm not saying that management's gone wrong and let too many good players go, but it's just really tough for Braves fans to look around and see Braves. Like, I watched the Cubs-Phillies game last night because I can't get the Braves. And I'm watching Dansby, have a decent game, him have fun, smile, interact with his teammates. And it does hurt a little bit. Like, it hurts because Dansby was your guy. And I'm not saying the Braves have no chance of winning a World Series in the next 5 years, but you've lost a lot of really good talent. And let's not act like when you lose talent, you're just able to replicate what you did in 2021 with different guys.
Yeah, Atlanta playing this series at home, and I haven't seen anything from them over the past 2 weeks that suggests that they're going to take the next 2 in a row. But they're a team who should win this series at home, 26-15 at home. The Giants are 17-25 on the road. The Giants suck on the road. The Braves are great at home. Yet somehow the Giants beat the Braves in Atlanta. Explain to me how that happens. Now, the Braves, again, what I was saying earlier, are becoming a get-right team for a lot of this league. The Giants are 2 games under 500. If the Giants somehow find a way to sweep the Braves on the road, which is rare, road sweeps don't happen a lot in Major League Baseball, then they can get themselves back to a 500 baseball team.
I'll tell you what's concerning. Yeah, you're 9 games back in the East. But what's concerning is, Diesel, when you look at players' stats by teams, right? Player stat by team category. It breaks the player stats by team down by division. So the best players that are in those statistical categories, it ranks them, right? In the NL East, the Braves are dead freaking last. Ugh. The Miami Marlins are ahead of them. The Phillies are ahead of them. The Mets are ahead of them. And the Nationals are ahead of them. Mm-hmm. They're just not playing good ball. I don't want to be the guy that says, oh, there's no bright spots. There's nowhere to look right now and say, oh, the Braves are really good. I mean, Chris Sale, you said it. Reynaldo Lopez is really good. Chris Sale right now is, top 10, I believe, in pitching in the MLB. If he's not, he's actually 12th. Sorry, I got that wrong. He's 12th.
Reynaldo Lopez has the best ERA in baseball right now. 1.83, 4 hits on 4 1/3 innings yesterday. 6 strikeouts, 4 walks, gave up 2 runs. He didn't get the loss because they were tied when he gave up the pitch. Dylan Lee got the loss.
You've got 3 Braves pitchers, Diesel, in the top 15 in the statistical categories of just pitching. So Reynaldo Lopez 1, as you said, Chris Sale 12, Max Fried 13. That's just what it is.
William Brady on the stream says, depressing. All Atlanta sports are depressing. The Braves this year and last, Falcons, Hawks, and United, foosball. Unfortunately, I'm a fan of all of them but the Hawks. I have season tickets to Truist Park. I'll be there Friday. It's tough being an Atlanta fan.
Is he wrong?
No, he's not wrong. No, he's not wrong. William, can you do us a favor? Can you sneak down to the dugout and fire Brian Snicker for us? I mean, I'm starting to think that maybe Dewey's not so crazy after all. Dewey calls us almost every day and says,
wait a minute,
you got to fire Brian Snicker.
Is Dewey alive? We haven't heard from Dewey all week. That's maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Do you realize what you've done?
Yeah, really.
You realize what you brought onto us?
Let me hit the dump button real quick. Let me dump it. What's interesting is when you look at the Braves, I said a couple of days ago, at this point, July the 3rd, you are who you are. But I'm even asking myself now, and this is terrible. Tell me if I'm wrong, you, Diesel, and Tolos.
Yeah.
I don't even know. We asked Jake Mastriani on Monday about free agency, bringing in some help, pitching-wise, even though they're really good pitching right now, bringing in some bats, maybe somebody, an outfielder. Orlando Arcia sucks right now. I don't even know that bringing in guys at this point in the season is going to do much. Maybe that's just me being depressed, being full of, bad will toward the Braves.
I think they need to bring in a therapist at this point.
Maybe a therapist. I just don't know. I hear these guys, Diesel, names being tossed around about, maybe this guy can come in. And like Jack Flaherty, good pitcher. I just don't know. Right now, they're just not good. They've got really good pitchers. Reynaldo, Chris, and Max are really, really good. But you know what I remember as a Braves fan? I remember good pitchers before not getting any run support.
Yeah.
Julio Teheran, how many years, Braves fans, did we go through Julio Teheran, pitch after pitch, game after game, him performing great, being amazing, but guess what Julio Teheran didn't have in Atlanta when he was a Brave? Run support. I just feel like we're revisiting that era of Braves baseball when Julio Teheran was our pitcher.
If, though, and this is a big if, God, this is a big if Austin Riley, if Sean Murphy can stay hot and keep hitting home runs, again, maybe that's the thing that sort of sparks everybody, gets them going again. That's the only hope for the Atlanta Braves offense at this point. We've talked how many times about the fact that this team is built to hit home runs. They are built to outscore you with the long ball. The problem is when somehow the entire team gets the yips and can't hit the long ball, well, you find yourself in a big world of hurt.
Well, if that's what they're built on, hitting the long ball, which I agree with you, Hey, how about redesigning and restructuring what you're built on? Because right now, we're not going to just wait on the baseballs to get changed back until the Braves can be good again. How about let's adjust? Hey, Brian, how about the Braves do some adjusting? How about we game plan differently? We have different approaches at the plate. And how about we do something different? Instead of just blaming, oh, the balls are different. Oh, the offense is down league wide. All the freaking excuses every single week. How about you get in there and figure out what the heck's going on? You're the coach. You're the manager. It's your job to get the most out of these players. And I'm not saying fire Brian Snitker. I'm not saying that, Diesel. But, my God, do something.
Yeah,
coach.
But here's what happens, Cole. If you try to do that and if you try to chase that down, which I'm not saying it's necessarily the wrong decision, but if you try to chase that down and you trade off an Ozzie Albies or you trade off an Ozuna, somebody to bring in guys that are more contact-oriented guys who get on base and have some speed, then you watch those guys who you just traded off go do great things for other teams, and you resent it. You're like, where was this in 2024 on the Atlanta Braves?
That's what I'm saying. You got to get the most out of the guys you got, and the Braves aren't doing that.
Have they considered taking a little blue pill, like a performance enhancer?
I'm fine
something,
with it.
anything?
At this point, looking at we talked about their pitching, looking across the league, Diesel, at the offense, hitting. Do you want to get even more depressed right now?
Can I get more depressed right now?
Marcell Ozuna is in the top 25 of hitting in the MLB, right? He has had a great year. He is 6th in hitting. 83 games played. He has 91 hits, which is 4th in major leagues, 21 home runs. But after that, after Marcell Ozuna, who's hitting just below 300, let's scroll all the way down to 25. Is there another Brave in the top 25? Negative. Okay, where's the next Atlanta Brave then, Diesel? Because he's got to be behind 25, right? They've got to be somewhere up close. Well, guess what? Let's go to the next page where it's 26 through 50. Guess what? No freaking Braves. 50, none. 1. Marcell Ozuna is the only Brave in the top 50 in hitting right now. Well, maybe they're 50 to 60, right? Surely they're somewhere back there. Turn the next page. Oh, there's Austin Riley at 65. Good job, Austin. Matt Olson, 73. In the top 75 players hitting, Diesel, in the major leagues, you have three guys who are in the top 75 right now. That's piss poor, pitiful. Matt Olson is that contact guy. You just said a minute ago, they didn't get contact guys. Matt Olson's supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, but Matt Olson was racing to hit a lot of home runs last year. Have they changed the way Matt Olson swings to try to get him to hit it out of the park?
He's 73rd right now in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. His batting average right now is .239. I mean, really, congratulations. When you look at getting on base, Matt Olson hits 74, 41 RBIs, which is not great. He's not getting on base. Matt Olson only has base on balls, walks, 32 walks. He's just not getting it done, man. His OBP right now, Matt Olson, 319. Slugging percentage, 424. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you would tell me that this last year in 23, this Braves offense would be the best in the world. And July the 3rd, we're celebrating Independence Day the next day, and you've got 3 guys in the top 75.
Are we living in one of the most depressed areas for sports fandom in the country right now? I mean, all the Charlotte teams suck. All the Atlanta teams suck. South Carolina kind of treading water as a program, not really coming to fruition what we thought Shane Beamer might be as a head coach. And for what it's worth, Clemson seems to be falling off ever so slightly, with the potential to fall off even more next year. The vibe around that program is not positive. Like, where in the hell is the positivity coming from for any sports team?
Clemson baseball
within 250 miles of here. Yeah. Yeah.
Really though. I mean, it's bad. William on the stream says Ozuna wasn't supposed to be anything on the team. He's making a name for himself, and thank God we have him. The Braves suck. Record-wise, no, but this team is full of nothing by all-stars, and no one but Ozuna is performing. That's a great point. Let's talk about that. All-stars. Right now, how many all-stars, how many players deserve to be all-stars on the Atlanta Braves?
God, I remember arguing before the season started, like 5 or 6 at least.
At least.
And then
I
none
think
of them
we
are
said
performing.
7 or 8 at one point.
Yeah. I mean, Acuna going down, that hurts.
And Strider.
Strider going down.
Those were both all-stars.
That's 2 of them.
Austin Riley's not.
Harris is not.
Nope, he's hurt.
Ozuna is performing like an all-star.
I would say Ozuna, Reynaldo, and Chris Sale is borderline.
Yeah, who had that on their bingo card? Ronaldo Lopez coming out of the bullpen to be an all-star as a starter.
But he is an all-star. Listen, there's no way Reynaldo Lopez is not an all-star. He is the only Brave. Listen, I'd be fine if they said, hey, Atlanta, you've got 2 freaking all-stars, Reynaldo and Marcell Ozuna. That's it. Maybe Chris Sale deserves it. Maybe he does, because you know what? He's old as dirt, and he hadn't got hurt, and he's still pitching good. So I guess maybe if you have enough room, on the All-Star team, put Chris Sale there. Max Fried, If they just need somebody, maybe. He's top 15 right now in pitching. I wouldn't put him there. I don't even know that I'd put.
Hey, if I'm the Atlanta Braves, I'm not letting Chris Sale go because I don't want him pitching any innings that he absolutely does not have to.
He'll get hurt in the All-Star game.
Yeah, we'll have this. We'll have this coming up in our daily wires at 4:45. But what's going on with Shohei Ohtani and his people keeping him out of the home run derby?
I saw that
because he's still in rehab.
I saw that.
What? He's tattooing the ball.
He is the home run derby.
He is the home run derby. He's what people want to tune in and see. And then you're saying, he's not going to do that.
You know what? Our luck,
absurd.
Braves fans' luck before we hit a break, we'll have 5 guys, Diesel, in the All-Star game who don't deserve to be there. And every Atlanta Brave who's in the home run derby will finish top 5. The Braves will tattoo the ball in the All-Star game, in the home run derby. They'll win it. Austin Riley will probably win the the home run derby. But regular season, nah, we're not going to hit home runs in the regular season. Why would we do that? It's embarrassing. I'm almost to the point where I just don't care. I know that's terrible. I shouldn't be that way, but these I really am. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon, I'm afraid. You had the Philly. Last note, I'll say this. I watched Philadelphia last night against Chicago. And by the way, they're banged up. Philadelphia right now, in my opinion, is the best team in baseball. They are so good. They're so deep. Their bullpen's phenomenal. Their best 3 players aren't even playing. Now, they almost gave it away last night against Chicago.
But they didn't.
They did not. And, man, they are really, really good right now. I hate to say it, but they're tough. They look like a World Series team, without a doubt. All right, coming up next, Diesel, we bring on, for the second time, Chapel Fowler of the state newspaper. He was covering the ACC versus Clemson lawsuit yesterday in Charlotte. Really juicy stuff out of Charlotte. We'll talk to Chapel next. don't know what's more depressing. We were just talking about the Atlanta Braves, but then, I think about our good buddy Chapel Fowler, who had to sit in Charlotte yesterday in Mecklenburg County and listen to judges and everybody else that has to talk in a court case in a lawsuit. Chapel, was it that boring yesterday, or did you find the ACC versus Clemson lawsuit to be fascinating? What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I definitely felt a little dumber after those 2.5 hours. A lot of smart people in that room who make a lot more money than me or either of y'all for good reason. But yeah, no, honestly, I found it refreshing and interesting just because, since all this stuff started in March, we've essentially been reading these arguments, hearing these arguments through online court filings. So to put faces to names, names to faces, to kind of see how these lawyers operated on both sides. Clemson's side a little bit more reserved, straightforward, purple PowerPoints, orange text. The ACC's lawyer, Jim Cooney, kind of more of a classic showman. He played a scene from Casablanca during the hearing. He put up a picture of Jim Clements shaking hands with John Spofford and put a big, superimposed circle over Jim Clements as he was talking about him, a little bit more visual, a lot of laughs. It was a pretty loose hearing, all things considered, polite, but there were some tense moments, and it was really fascinating across the board. So, Cooney kind of kept me peppy with his one-liners and stuff, but overall, ton of information, kind of recycling the arguments we've heard already and talked about already and are in these filings, but to see it in person was a little different in a good way.
Chapel Fowler of the State newspaper joins us here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Chapel, you were talking about some of the showmanship there. Do you know if Graham Neff considered at any point showing up to the hearing, in a ratty outfit with a 10 cup, jangling it to try to get some change? I mean, if you want to sell the idea that Clemson is poor because the ACC has made them this way, isn't that a great way to do it as well?
Perhaps so, yeah. Graham was there. Jim Phillips was not there. This was a hearing where client attendance was allowed and recommended, but wasn't required.
You think,
so Clemson brought
Jim
their
Phillips would be
lawyer
there?
Group, and Graham Neff was there just as an observer, though. No active part in the case or anything or the hearing that day. He just went with a plain suit and a purple tie, and the ACC had about 4 or 5 of their lawyers there as well. But no showmanship outside of Cooney, but his stuff was pretty entertaining, and I think both sides and the judge had kind of appreciated the levity and those little breaks in the moments in something that did last 2.5 hours and did involve a lot of back and forth and challenging and stuff like that. So it was a fun little snippet of the legal community there on the 6th floor of the Mecklenburg County Courthouse.
Of course, Jim Phillips wasn't there, right? Like, why would he be there? I mean, what sense does it make for the guy to be there? But no, he's not going to be there where he has to answer questions. Hey, right now, Chapel, here in the upstate, there's probably someone getting in their car that may not be the biggest sports fan, may not be the biggest Clemson fan in the world, and here's us talking about the ACC versus Clemson lawsuit. Can you reset? Can you kind of, for the audience that may not know, can you bring them to light in what this lawsuit is about?
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to get a refresher. I find myself doing the same sometimes too as I get so deep in the weeds. The long and short of it here is obviously realignment's a big thing now. Clemson has been looking at other options, has been considering that for a few years now, just as you look at the revenue discrepancies. And, you might get to a point in 5, 6, 7, 8 years where any given SEC team could pay a really good offensive coordinator, $4.5 million a year. And any good coordinator could only get, let's say, I don't know, $1 million or $1.5 million from ACC school. So you can kind of see how little stuff like that can add up over time and make the gap between the haves and the have-nots even wider, even though we are talking about, millions and millions of dollars. And I do understand that. But college football is a entertainment and revenue business. So that's kind of what these people care about, the bottom line. So Clemson has filed this lawsuit against the ACC, essentially challenging the grant of rights that they signed in 2013 and re-signed in 2016 that grant the media rights to their home games through 2036 to the ACC, and that on top of a big exit fee kind of has made the ballpark cost to get out of that conference like somewhere in the $500 million range, which is a lot of money, obviously, even in these high stakes college environments. So they're trying to essentially find some legal way to knock that exit fee down to, I don't know, just the exit fee instead of the grant of rights stuff, nothing at all, something in between, so they can more easily move to another conference if that opportunity comes about. FSU has done that too. The ACC has countersued both those schools and seems intent on fighting it and has a really solid contract in place. You know, you've heard the phrase ironclad get thrown out about the grant of rights. I'm sure it's not perfect. You could poke holes in it like you could anything, but for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward contract that Clemson and Florida State signed that kind of grants their media rights to the conference through 2036, and they signed it willingly. So they're in a little bit of an uphill battle, but that's kind of what we're in the process of right now. Figuring out the venue where these cases are actually going to be heard is the step we're in. You know, yesterday's hearing, and next week in Pickens County is going to be a hearing on the same thing. So we are in a very preliminary stage of it right now, but it's all about money in the grand scheme of things.
So, Chappell, you know, what would make Clemson happy in all of this is more money. So since this lawsuit has began, has the ACC done anything at all to increase the per school revenue distribution? And I know Clemson and Florida State had mentioned going to an uneven revenue distribution. Where are we in the minutia of that possibility?
I believe that is going to get rolled out with this upcoming athletic year. It's funny, that feels like that was such a long time ago. That was kind of the dominating talk like last spring, and something that those schools were talking about as a way to, you know, get them a little bit more money and maybe appease them. That was kind of the framing of it. Obviously, they've both taken more drastic measures since then. But yeah, I think that's going to come into play this athletic year for the ACC. But in the grand scheme of things, again, we're talking big, like millions and millions of dollars. What that can do for a school is a significant bump. I forget the specifics, but I think if you hit all the thresholds, all the parameters for football, basketball, this is all revenue sport focused, uneven revenue distribution thing. You can maybe get an extra, I'm forgetting, somewhere in $10, $20 million, something like that. And that's a lot of money. But if you're talking about a gap that I think is projected to reach 40, 50 for many SEC to ACC school given like 2029, I'm forgetting the specific number. Obviously, that's not exactly up to par. So that's one small part of this that honestly I forgot about that you mentioned. Just with all the lawsuit talk and everything, you forget that's something the ACC has tried to do to kind of appease these guys. But I think we've all realized at this point that, that's kind of small potatoes versus everything else that goes into realignment and what these schools ultimately want down the line.
What do you expect to hear from the July 12th hearing, Chappell?
That one's interesting to me. I think what I heard yesterday didn't particularly surprise me. This is a Charlotte judge, the chief judge of the North Carolina Business Court, hearing this ACC versus Clemson case. This is ACC's countersuit. He has already ruled once in a similar case like this with the Florida State ACC suit, and he allowed that case to continue in Charlotte. The technical part of that was he denied FSU's motions to dismiss that suit or stay that lawsuit. Clemson made those same motions or argued those same motions yesterday. So that's not too surprising to me. I think in hearing the judge, Lewis Bledsoe, kind of talk and interrogate both sides, if you had to ask me for a prediction there, I would assume that he would deny those motions from Clemson and allow that case, ACC versus Clemson, to proceed in Charlotte. But the July 12th one is interesting because in the FSU case, their judge on there in Tallahassee did not rule that the case should go to Charlotte. He ruled that the case should continue in Tallahassee. So this Pickens County Court judge could stir the pot a lot if he also finds that case on there, Clemson versus ACC, which is the original one, can continue where it is instead of going up to Charlotte. So that's I don't know. I wouldn't call it a coin flip. I don't read his mind, but that one I think is going to be a lot more interesting, because if that one goes in the direction of, yes, we're going to continue to hear this case in South Carolina, you've got potentially two cases running parallel to each other, just like is happening in the ACC Florida State stuff. And again, there's appeals on appeals on appeals to be done with that. But you could be in a spot where in both of those kind of disputes, there's multiple cases running at the same time, which would be, I forget what the judge used yesterday, something like litigation chaos. Not maybe preferable to him or to the efficiency of things, but for Clemson, that would definitely be a win.
Definitely look him up on Twitter at Chapel Fowler, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Chapel, in your opinion, how much does this lawsuit have to do with Clemson rejecting ESPN's request to move the Palmetto Bowl to Black Friday? We had a lot of conversation about that yesterday. We had a quote from an ACC official who basically reprimanded Clemson for not playing ball and for not doing what they need to do. In your mind, was this a little bit of spiteful revenge, or are these two things completely separate?
That's a good question. I think that maybe could fall into some growing discontent or feeling that the conference, as Clemson has laid out in its lawsuits a few times, that they are arguing that the conference hasn't exactly done its job being proactive in terms of adding new schools, adding schools that, are considered good football schools or good schools for the brain. Clemson was one of only 3 schools that voted against bringing in Cal, Stanford, and SMU last year. So I think you can maybe lump it into that general feeling of discontent. Like, I'm sure Clemson wasn't thrilled to get a request to move a home game on a Saturday right after Thanksgiving, when so many people have their travel plans already set and booked up, to a Friday instead. I do think that it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a leak, as some people are saying. This was a public court exhibit where this email came in, but it was certainly not an accident on Clemson's part to include that. There's a lot of really smart people over there, and you can't tell me that they didn't know that including that email exchange was not going to go viral and kind of fire up their fan base. I think strategically it was a smart thing to do, because like you said, y'all were talking about it. I saw lots of Twitter discussion about it yesterday. Fans seem to be kind of fired up about Clemson, putting the ACC in their place and saying no to that, getting reprimanded for it. So I don't think that's like directly tied to it. But it certainly kind of fits into these last few years of growing discontent, considering realignment, thinking about other conferences, pushing ACC for stuff, having some dialogue, as came up in the hearing yesterday about Clemson and the ACC maybe doing some sort of NDA or a legal standstill where they wouldn't sue each other until a certain date. And then ultimately that fizzling and getting us to where we are right now.
Hey, Chapel, you cover all things Clemson. Your thoughts, your reaction on Nolan Noraki being bold enough to say, hey, I'll head down to Columbia. South Carolina baseball earns a commitment today from the Clemson infielder. Your thoughts?
Yeah, probably not a coincidence that the guy sending out the welcome home tweet for that one was Monty Lee, right? I think that stuff with the portal nowadays, like, it's gotten a little bit blurred. Like whenever, who was it, the running back who went from Clemson to South Carolina however many years ago, I think that situations like that are more different than they are now. I think guys, more than anything else, especially if you only stay in a program for a year, 2 years, you're just really looking for an opportunity. So, bold, I think, is a good word. Like, he knew that decision was going to get him some Twitter grief, just like it did for his teammate, Nathan All, who did it a few weeks ago. And those 3 guys who did it 2 cycles ago when Lee had been fired. I don't mind it at all, because for me, it just makes the rivalry series even spicier and more fun to cover and more eventful. So I know that those 2 guys will get a few more chirps at Doug Kingsmore next March. But with portal stuff nowadays, I don't think anything surprises me. And going from rival to rival, I think when it's more about unlimited transfers and everything like that, and let me find a spot that works for me, I think it's just going to become more and more and more the norm.
Chapel Fowler writes about Clemson for the state newspaper. Last question for me here, Chapel. Does it feel to you with all of these court proceedings like the ACC is ultimately cutting off its nose to spite its face? You're suing your biggest moneymaker to keep them, which also ensures that they will 100% leave down the road when they get a chance. I mean, from the ACC perspective, I understand why you do what you have to do to keep them, but is this also shooting yourself in the foot?
I think they're digging their feet in. And like you said, I understand why. In my personal opinion, I think they have the upper hand in both of these cases just because of how stuff like this has been ruled on before in terms of venue and the specific contract nitty-gritty details that Clemson and Florida State are both picking at. I don't think the ACC has been perfect by any means in terms of tackling realignment and stuff. It kind of always seems like they're being reactionary versus proactive. That kind of came up language-wise in Florida State's lawsuit and Clemson's lawsuit. But at the same time, like if you're up 35-0 in a college football game, you don't want to take your foot off the gas. So I understand why they're fighting this hard. I think it would be kind of a tough thing to sell otherwise. And if you have those two big moneymakers, like you mentioned, like stuck with you and there's a way to keep them doing that, I understand why you want to push for that, and an angry Clemson and an angry Florida State may be angry, but, unless they decide to not play games anymore, which is not going to happen because they need to make the money too. Those are still, your teams and schools that are representing your conference. And if Clemson goes 10-2 this fall and it's suing the ACC, like they're still both going to benefit monetarily from that. So it's kind of a really strange in between. Like I think of that picture of Graham Neff and Jim Phillips side by side at the basketball. I think it was in Memphis at this point, one of the tournament games, and they're separate, like suits and Clemson ties and just kind of nodding to each other and watching the game. That stuff happens, spring meetings, all that stuff. It's a really weird position to be in. But again, I think if you're Jim Phillips or the ACC, you may have made some mistakes in the past, whether that was Swofford or farther back in terms of realignment strategy or lack of strategy. But right now, I certainly understand why they're essentially saying we're going to fight this till the end.
He is Chapel Fowler of the state newspaper. Definitely give him a follow because this thing, it feels like, you could almost live tweet these proceedings. At any point, a big bombshell could drop and change everything. So definitely look him up. Give him a follow at Chapel Fowler on Twitter. We thank you so much for your time today.
And I think they were told, by the way, you're not allowed to tweet during the court case. Is that right?
Yeah, that was going to be a little joke because I signed off. I appreciate y'all giving me the time. Yeah, we had no idea what we could do or not do. All I knew was I was there to cover a hearing, and I was not trying to get found for any contempt of court one way or the other. So I may have been the subject of a small First Amendment violation, according to some lawyers on Twitter. But, we live to see another day. And I was able to take my notepad out and go back to, like I was in a French history class back in UNC again. I was writing, 5 pages on my little legal pad, and I have a blister on my thumb that I'm looking at right now for it. But I was able to record it. I got permission to do that. So I survived. But yeah, no tweeting on that one. We'll see about this one next Friday. I'm in the process of figuring that out right now.
We appreciate that, Chapel. Hey, man, fantastic stuff. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. That's great. No tweeting. How dumb is that? What is the point of that, you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there
to limit the media and how they could cover this? I mean, Chapel, he kind of laid it out for us there that this is a trial of middle ground. It's nobody is in a rock solid position as far as like what can they do to amend all of this?
True.
How can they fix this? Well, there is no fixing this. How can they make Clemson happy? Pay them like double the amount of money that they're making. Well, they can't afford to pay them double that they're making. Well, then they can't make them happy. So Clemson's going to continue the lawsuit.
Hey, I'll say this.
This feels like a messy divorce, right?
No,
it's just
does.
getting dragged out.
And look, I'll even say I think it's pointless that we're even having the court case. I mean, really, I think it's pointless. What's going to come from it? Like, to your point, you got to pay this. Well, just go ahead and decide it. Let's get it over with.
When we come back, we'll take a whip around the sports world, get to our daily wires on the other side right here on the Fan Upstate. So much happening in the sports world, even if it's the off season. There's a lot happening out there in the world, Cole, and not every single topic gets a whole 15-minute segment on this show. So we package them all together. We squeeze them. We condense them down into something we call our daily wires. This is the buzz happening around the sports world. The Atlanta Braves lost last night to the San Francisco Giants 5-3.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know, right? Reynaldo Lopez, phenomenal again, as always. His ERA did go up because he gave up 2 earned last night. However,
Beautiful.
He still has a sub-2 ERA. He is still, at least as far as that metric is concerned, the best pitcher in baseball. He is lights out. But we won't see him for a couple of more nights.
Sunday, by the way.
The Atlanta Braves will try to even the series tonight in Atlanta at 7:20. Chris Sale on the mound. He gets the start versus Jordan Hicks of the San Francisco Giants. Do you have any faith whatsoever?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I give him about a 35% chance to win this game.
For the first 5 innings, I have plenty of faith. That's the problem. Everybody talks about the pitching. The bullpen's no good.
That's true. When starting pitching is the only thing on your team that's worth a damn, you're not going to win a lot of games.
Unless you play 5-inning games.
The NL East leading Phillies beat the Cubs last night 6-4. They're 9 games now ahead of the second place Atlanta Braves, just pulling away. But hopefully they'll get caught up by that same thing that's gotten the Braves, that's gotten the Dodgers. You get that bye, and you struggle down the stretch because you're not playing meaningful ball. Kyle Anderson is heading to Golden State on a 3-year deal, Cole, worth $27 million. You feeling good about that trade for Golden State?
No, not at all. They're just patching holes. They're still in trouble.
Yeah. Well, the Timberwolves out of this will get a future second-round pick swap. So I guess they'll wait until the year when the Warriors have a better pick position than them, and they will swap that. They'll also get some cash from the Warriors as well. Kemba Walker, former UConn guard, former Charlotte Hornet, has officially called it a career. He was a 4-time All-Star. I think a lot of us had really high hopes for Kemba in Charlotte, and it just never really took off.
Didn't have help. Also, It was announced just a few hours ago that he will be joining Charles Lee's staff as an assistant coach with the Hornets.
How about that?
So he's staying at Hornet.
LeBron James has reached a deal to stay with the LA Lakers. It's a 2-year deal worth $104 million, including a player option for the 2025-2026 season. He also gets a no-trade clause. They're calling it like a 1-and-1 deal. Like, we'll pay you, we'll put you on contract for a year, and then you have the option to add a second year after the fact.
You know, even though it's a 2, I still think he's only going to play 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Bronny James' rookie deal has also been revealed. It's a 4-year deal worth $7.9 million, which puts him right there on par, Cole, with Pell Larson, who was drafted 11 spots higher than he was. He received a 3-year, $5.4 million contract. You're saying, how is that on par? It's less money. Well, it's the same amount of money per year. Bronny is just getting an extra year. Do you think there's any chance in hell that that Bronny gets all the way through this 4-year contract?
God, that's a tough question. I'd say no.
The average NFL tenure is what, 4 years, 3 years, something like that?
NBA shorter than
so
that.
I'd love to know what the average NBA second-round draft pick tenure in the NBA is. The crazy thing is, Cole, that it's worth more money, even when you adjust for inflation. This deal for Bronny, 4 years, $7.9 million, is worth more money than Nikola Jokic's rookie deal. He got 4 years, $5.5 million in 2015, and $5.5 million in 2015's money is worth $7.2 million today. So Bronny is getting $700,000 more in his rookie contract than Nikola Jokic did with his.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Last night, the Las Vegas Aces beat the Indiana Fever 88-69 in front of a WNBA record crowd of 20,366 fans. The game was originally set to be played in the arena that the Aces typically play in, which is the 12,000-seat Michelob Ultra Arena, but they moved it to the T-Mobile Arena, home of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The game promptly sold out. Just a huge night for the WNBA. I mean, a lot of people tuned in to watch that one and came out for it as well. Kelsey Plum scored 34 points in the Aces win. She's pretty good at basketball.
Pretty smoking.
Yep. Shohei Ohtani will not compete in the All-Star Home Run Derby coming up on July 15th, citing rehab
He's hurt.
as the reason why he won't.
He hurt.
Yeah, he is second in the majors with 27 home runs. He's tattooing the ball when they're playing in games that matter, but the staff there in the there for the Dodgers said, "Yeah, no, we're not going to put him out there if it's not for something important."
I mean, I see both sides.
And finally, sadly, Cole, the Greer Citizen announced today that it's going to be closing its doors at the end of the month. Another newspaper bites the dust.
Yeah, that industry's taken a pretty
Tough.
good hit. And my good buddy, Trey Stewart, who's worked there for a year and a half, he did a phenomenal job. Hate to see that. The area of Greer deserves to be covered, and that sucks. It really does. All right, coming up next, it's time to fight. Time to put them up as we do each and every day at 5 o'clock. Steven on the stream asks, is anyone else worried about the fireworks tomorrow and how dry it's been? I think, listen, yes, it's dry, but I'm not being a smarty. Isn't it dry every July? Like, I feel like we say this every 4th of July.
Just think, Cole, somebody out there is enjoying their last day having all 10 fingers.
That's true.
You don't
Shout
know
out
who you
Jason
are.
Pierre-Paul.
You don't know who you are, but it's coming.
No, it is. I mean, I get it. It's dry, but I don't know that. I think it's dry every July.
If
do.
one of our listeners, Stephen Webb, Madcraft, William, if any of you guys are the ones to blow your hand off, I 100% want the news to put wire to wire, Tolo, Madcraft blows his hand off with fireworks. I want that on the news, right?
Madcraft blows his hand off.
If you blow your hand off, run in the house real quick, put on your Fan Upstate t-shirt or hat, and then wait for the news crews to show up, please.
Diesel and I will be there momentarily. Just wait on us. All right, it's time to do what we do every day at 5 o'clock.
It's one winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Madcraft says, why'd it have to be me? Sorry about that.
Take it as a badge of honor, Madcraft. We put your name on it.
Yeah, we love you, man. We love you. All right,
No offense.
It is almost time to disagree if you do not know what this segment is about. Every single day at 5 o'clock, Diesel and I must disagree. If it's your first time listening, we appreciate you. Hope you stay with us each and every day, 3 to 7 p.m., right here on the Fan Upstate. Each round, Diesel and I will disagree. It's your job, the Tolo, to let us know who wins and who loses each round. You can text the show, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. We're also live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can comment there as well. It's time to get it started.
Round one, fight.
Diesel, to start the show today, we talked Heisman. Little Heisman convo.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the Heisman convo as we're now only 1 month away from college football kicking off. So I ask the question, 2024, Phil Maffa. He's one bad Maffa for the Clemson Tigers. Stock, Heisman stock, Phil Maffa. Are you, Diesel, buying or selling that stock?
I am selling that stock for the pure reason that he's a running back. Running back ain't going to win the Heisman Trophy. They never do. 179 carries, 965 yards last year. Should have got the ball a hell of a lot more than he did because he was electric with the ball. 13 touchdowns, 5.5 yards a carry in 2023. But you have to have one of those video game absurd seasons just to even be in legitimate consideration for the Heisman. You're not going to win it. You're not going to win it unless you have QB next to your name. So, sorry, Phil. I'm selling that stock.
Dang, selling old Phil's stock.
Yeah.
Okay, look.
I think he's going to have a great season, but not a Heisman season.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why you should buy it. I'm not saying he's going to win it. I just mean buy stock that he will be in the Heisman conversations. Clemson's running game, to your point, last year he should have gotten a lot more carries. I thought, my opinion, he was the better running back last year.
He was crushing Shipley.
You know, I've gone on record. I wasn't the biggest Will Shipley fan. So Phil Maffa, in my opinion, in 2024, he'll have a lot more carries. I believe that they will rely on him in more situations. Hopefully him and Cade have developed a good relationship, a good dynamic to where Cade doesn't have to pull the ball, and fumble the ball in big situations. I think Phil Maffa will be trusted a lot more in the 2024 offense. And as long as he stays healthy, if he gets going early, especially a big standout game against Georgia would help. I think by the, third halfway point of the season, maybe, as the schedule starting to weaken. Georgia's really the only tough team on the schedule. Let's call it like it is there. Then you have Florida State. But I think by the midpoint of the season, Phil Maffa will start to be one of the better running backs in the country stat-wise. However, it is tough, to your point. If you're not a quarterback, it's really, really tough. But I am buying Phil Maffa stock. All right, round number 2.
Round 2, fight.
This one's hilarious. I mean, hilarious. You put this one on the rundown, Diesel. Is a thick Southern accent, I mean real thick, on a female, is it a turn on or is it a turn off or neutral? I want to hear this audio you have.
Yeah, so what brought this on is I finally listened to the interview between Haley Wells, the Hawk Tua girl, on the Plan Bree Uncut podcast. And I want you to hear how thick this girl's accent is. So you're going to hear the host for a brief second first, and then it'll go to Haley Wells.
Everyone has been searching for you. I feel like there's been millions of fake accounts that I fell for because I was trying to find you like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So they're everywhere. And then there was like an account of your merch, but it was like you signing hats. Is that your account?
Well, it's not really my account, but the guy that I let do hats for me, he was kind enough to ask if he could sell them like in my hometown. And so I was okay with it. Okay. He was kind enough to ask, and he's just been great to me. He's absolutely great. I've known him for years, and he split all what he's made off of it with me, and he's just went out of his way to just be good to me. So
my hometown. My hometown. Oh, dude. As smoke show hot as Haley Wells is, that thick of an accent could not be more of a turnoff to me. I can't stand it. I know a couple of people in my everyday real life who have that thick of an accent, and like it's nails down a chalkboard. I look, I have spent my entire career in radio trying to eliminate my Southern accent growing up in North Carolina. I have tried real hard to get rid of it. So when I hear that real thick Southern drawl, it's like, like there's something about it. It makes you sound unintelligent. It does.
You are dead wrong. Dead wrong. How could Cole Bryson sit here and say, oh, it's a turnoff for a female to have a thick Southern accent like that when you and I started this radio show not long ago? Literally, one of the first comments was, Cole's Southern accent is radio gold, from a listener. I'm telling you, that would be the pot calling the kettle black, right? I can't say, oh, no, you can't have a Southern accent, because I think mine's noticeable. It's not as thick as hers, but it's pretty noticeable. When I lived in Texas, I felt like it was every day, Diesel. Somebody asked, where are you from? Where are you from with that accent? And, you don't notice it because you hear it every day.
Yeah. That happened to me when I was living in New York City. A lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're like, you sound like you're so Southern. I'm like, I don't speak that way.
See, I think it's a good thing to have the Southern accent. Give me the Southern accent any day over the Yankee accent. Are you kidding me?
I didn't say it was better or worse than a Yankee accent. I just said that thick of a Southern accent
I'm trying to paint you in a corner
to
now.
me is a turnoff.
All right. If you are undecided, by the way, text line 71307, start your text with the word fan. If you're undecided, there is one more round.
Round fight.
All right, round number 3, the final round as we call it. Diesel, when a relationship ends, romantic or platonic, big word there, do you stay friends or do you cut them off like cold turkey?
I'm bad about this, Cole. I most of the time stay friends with that person.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Now, things have changed, obviously, since I've gotten married. You got to cut off some of those former
yeah, you better.
Former romance. Yeah, you better. But even with like platonic friends, like coworkers who have left, I want to check in on them from time to time, see how they're doing. Like, I'm not good at just putting up a wall on somebody and then stopping caring what's going on with their lives. I can't do it. So I stay in contact.
I can put up a wall. I mean, how
Really?
quickly, and not just with like a female in a relationship, but anybody. I mean, you want to put up a wall? I'll build a wall. I mean, come on. It doesn't take much. I absolutely disagree. You cut them off like cold turkey. Adios. Hasta la vista, baby. What say you? Let us know who wins each round. Round 1, round 2, round 3. If you have a suggestion, want to get a topic in, you say, hey, I think this would be a good fight idea. Bland on the X stream already suggested one today. You can do so.
What do you want Diesel and Co. Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
All right, 71307. Phone lines have just opened as well. Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas Fan Phone, 844-FAN phone. That's the way. Just a quick recap, and we're going to get to Trey. I don't know what he said that's making you laugh. All right, now I see it.
Trey,
what do you
that's
say?
amazing. Trey says the accent is bad if she's from Chesney and says Fangerville instead of Fingerville.
That is good. Fangerville.
Fangerville.
Yeah, that's a big red flag, right? That's a no.
Or Sugar Tit.
Sugar tit. Yeah. How can you say sugar tit without a Southern accent? I mean, that's like against the law, isn't it? I mean, come on. So quick recap. If you just tuned in, round 1, Phil Maffa Heisman stock, 2024, buying or selling? Diesel says selling. I say buying. Round 2, the best one of the day, or maybe the best one ever. I'm going to get back to that audio in a second. A thick Southern accent on a female. Turn on or turn off. What do you say? Diesel says turn off. I say turn on. Round 3, when a relationship ends, do you stay friends with them or do you cut them off? I say cut them off. Diesel says stay friends. One more time, Diesel. Can we hear that audio again?
Okay, so that's a good guy because I know there's a lot of people stealing.
Let me see if I can catch a part where she starts speaking.
6 months ago, due to like personal reasons, I never really got on it or anything like that.
Oh, okay. So it didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh no, I was long gone before that.
Oh, so you were already gone from.
So she's also in this interview dispelled the rumors that she was a teacher. She was not a teacher. She dispelled the rumor that her dad was a pastor. She said he could not be farther from a pastor. She worked at a spring factory.
Whatever that is.
Or the way she would say it, I worked at a sprying factory. Sprying factory.
I watched that interview with her and Brianna, and I felt like I was more unintelligent after I watched it.
That's my point. That's my point. That was thick of a Southern accent.
And it was
makes you
2
sound
females.
Stupid. Yeah.
Sorry, hope that didn't
thick
get
of an
me in
accent
trouble.
makes you sound stupid. I'm not saying that you are. I'm not saying that it makes you stupid. Also, I mean, Cole, like you know as well as I do, you see all these studies about accents going away in America because we all have more access to more social media. We hear accents from all over the country, starting at a younger and younger age. I find accents and colloquialisms fascinating, and I watch YouTube videos about how these things sort of evolve. Mm-hmm. And they said most of the people inherit the way they speak from their parents and the other kids that they meet early on in life. Well, now we've got a lot of people moving, so you're exposed to other people face to face from all over the country.
Yeah.
And you're exposed to people on social media from all over the country. So you're not learning those super thick accents at a young age.
No, you're not. Especially when you talk about cities like Greenville, where it's more like a, there's so many people moving into Greenville from different parts of the country.
You mean Grainville?
Grainville, Charlotte.
Grainville.
There's a lot of people moving here. And I don't know that you hear the Southern accents as much as you used to. Now, if you go to certain towns, right, to Trey's point, you do. If you go to small towns, Spartanburg or Greenville, northern Greenville County, you'll hear those thick accents. But you don't hear them as much. I like them. Just, I don't know. That one was thick. All right, you going with the stream? Do we have any votes in yet on the stream?
Yeah, I mean, Madcraft says Diesel wins round 1. I don't want to read the rest of this. I don't want to read the rest. Cole wins round 2 and round 3 because Madcraft is in love with the Hawk Tua girl.
Is he really?
I guess.
Are you in love, Matt?
Clearly. I mean, who isn't, honestly? She's America's sweetheart right now.
Good point. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, when I ask about the relationship ending, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It could just be a friendship, right?
That's true.
Like a friendship ends for an actual reason, like y'all got to split apart. One moves here, one moves there, whatever. College roommates, y'all go back to where you came from. I don't know. I stay friends with those people.
Texter from the 491 says Cole with an absolute clean sweep. Texter from the 432 says only 3 running backs to win the Heisman since 2005-ish. I didn't even realize it was 3. If
Reggie Bush, who else off the top of your head?
I was going to say Reggie, number 1, since 2005.
Maybe what was the Ricky something, the running back from Texas? Did he win the Heisman?
I don't think, did he?
Ricky Williams.
Did he win the Heisman?
Did he win the Heisman? I mean, I'm just spitballing who it could have been.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of those like
05.
game-changing running backs in the last 20,
Did Derrick Henry win the
years.
Heisman?
Yeah, I think he did.
That might be one of them. We'll have to look.
I do remember an Alabama running back winning the Heisman.
Henry might have. We'll have to look that up. 770 says Diesel with the first 2. Cole gets round 3. Right. So you get the win there, Diesel.
How about it?
Texter says, I can probably count on one hand how many friends that I still keep up with on a regular basis. Let me click on the text. Everyone else, I have no idea what's up with them, says Corn Chip. Texter from the 903.
We're just built different, Corn Chip.
I like this one. Ball and Springs instead of Boiling Springs.
Ball and Springs? Ball and Springs.
Am I guilty of that? I live there, from there. I might say Bowling Springs.
Bowling.
316 says, oh, this is G. G says Diesel wins 1, Cole wins 2 and 3. Texter from the 491, when do the mom and pop bracket start? It will start soon. We have to get through every category, Texter. I believe we did the downtowns first, so we'll get to that. It's part of the process.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we pledge that we are going to take nominees for the mom and pops on Friday?
How
about that? We're not going to be here tomorrow. But we'll start taking nominations for mom and pops on Friday.
And caller, if you want to get back in, you can do so. I just saw you popped on for a second, then you ran away. But if you want to get back on, hit us back up, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Bullwinkle. Cole wins 2-1 today. Mark Ingram won the Heisman one of those years. There you go, Bullwinkle. How about that? I like that. Mark Ingram. I forgot. Is it bad that I forgot about Mark Ingram?
Did Derrick Henry also win one?
Well, I thought so. Are you looking at? You gonna pull it up?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
I thought he did.
Yeah, he did. He won the Heisman. I just remember Derrick Henry. Watching his hairline recede.
Like mine?
No, like he had that perfectly straight across the middle hairline, and then it looked fake. And then he, because he also had the dreads. He had dreads in college, and then they just started creeping back and back and back. It's like, because the dreads weren't real; they were weaved in, and then they just kept, moving backwards on top of his head, but his hairline never moved.
I think I'm going to get that.
You are?
Nice. Thinking about it. So Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, those the 3. Is that right?
Seems to be.
Man, I forgot about Mark Ingram. That's bad. But I did forget about him. Really good. I don't think he was as good as Derrick Henry or Reggie
Trey
Bush.
Davis says Gurr instead of Greer.
That's true.
And Clinton instead of Clinton.
Yeah, and you know what? Real quick on that.
Like nobody enunciates that T in Clinton. Nobody says, "Hey guys, we're going to Clinton tonight."
I don't know why though. But it's spelled Clinton. I guess I don't enunciate it a ton. Clinton.
It's Clinton.
How do I say it? I say Clinton.
Yeah.
Clinton.
How do you spell Clinton?
Clinton. See, I guess I don't say Clinton or Clinton. I say Clinton.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know.
CLIN''N. Clinton.
Clinton and Gurr. God, this has taken a spiral. I mean, a bad one.
Yes,
but good fights.
Has. When we come back, Cole, big event tomorrow in sports. We say there's no sports going on. Well, there is that big event going on tomorrow, the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Boo. Joey Chestnut has now finally broken his silence about his ban for the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. We know what he's going to be doing instead of being at that contest. What did he have to say about not being in that contest? That's coming up next right here on 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, and everywhere you are on the free Odyssey app. Fat Paid, you're wrong for this. Fat Paid says, don't forget about the people from Traveler's Rest. We are TR.
I want to know where he got that name from.
You're making it sound like they're pirates.
We are
TR.
Do you know where he got the name Fat Paid?
No.
Was it organic? Y'all didn't give it to him or anything?
I didn't give it to him.
That's an interesting name.
Bullwinkle says in Berea, we say burrito. Well, Bullwinkle, that's mildly racist. But hey, the taco tastes good, crunch on it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, speaking of food, Joey Chestnut, who is basically the GOAT of American eating. He's only ever been beaten, I think, twice in the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest on 4th of July, who we all know will not be competing in the 4th of July Nathan's hot dog eating contest because he was banned unfairly by Major League Eating, has finally spoken out as to the reasons why he feels like he was ultimately banned from being in this contest. Joey Chestnut alleges that the organizers of the Nathan's contest, Major League Eating, changed the terms of his agreement around endorsing other products, which they have done in the past. He admits that they have done that in the past. How can they change it if they've got an agreement, right? Like the terms of a contract, or are we talking like this stuff was written on a napkin somewhere? He claimed that all of this was simply a case of Major League Eating changing the rules too late to actually change an agreement that he had in place with Impossible Foods.
So it's their fault.
Everything with Impossible was perfectly fine with all my previous agreements. This is Joey Chestnut speaking. They changed terms and conditions around exclusivity. And it's not the first time that they've changed some things, but it's the first time they've really changed things after the fact. And I had to say, hey, it's too late. I've already started working with this brand. This was never an issue in the past, and they tried to dance around it. They changed a lot of terms, and then they escalated things to agree. They didn't imagine when they started leaking information and telling people I was banned and that I turned vegan, which clearly isn't the case. I like that little part right there. They changed a lot of terms, and then they escalated things to a degree they didn't imagine. That sounds very Heisenberg, very Walter White. So I am the danger.
They were trying to start rumors that he turned vegan?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
See, screw them,
That's
man.
awful.
That's all. How you going to tell somebody who eats hot dogs for a living on 4th of July they're vegan?
You know how you combat those rumors, right?
Throw hot dogs at them.
Well, I guess you can, but that'd be like spraying puff paint on the green of a golf course and saying, hey, no golf on a dead planet. No, you just hold up a copy of today's newspaper and eat a hot dog. You just take it right out of the pack of Nathan's Famous or Oscar Mayer. If you're mad at Nathan's, you take it out of an Oscar Mayer pack, throw it on the grill, and you eat it right there in front of their faces. So the two men who are running this dispute from the Major League Eating side, they are George and Richard Shea. That's who he is going up against. Joey Chestnut claims that they both messaged him after the ban saying, quote, pretty much that they're sorry it got ugly. So they picked a fight, and then they texted Joey saying, sorry it got ugly. Wait a minute. You run Major League Eating. You had the opportunity to undo this. You could have said, it was an oopsie. It was a misunderstanding. We absolutely welcome this fine American athlete back to the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July. It wouldn't feel right without him. That's
Sounds
all
to
they
me
had
like
to do.
some higher-ups told them, hey, pull the plug, and you're the fall guy, right?
So this apparently, though, isn't the first time that contract disputes have gotten ugly between Major League Eating and the competitors. So this is kind of a normal thing. This happens fairly regularly. Couple of guys have had this is the way they describe it, their careers go dormant over contract disputes with Major League Eating. He mentioned Kobayashi and Matt Stoney, the only two men to have ever beaten him on the 4th of July hot dog eating contest, who have both had fallings out with Nathan's organizers.
That's so ridiculous,
So they're
man.
childish.
It is. And like, I understand the texter's point from the 618 that says he took millions to represent that awful, terrible, super engineered and processed crap sellout. Like, I understand the people that say, oh, Joey shouldn't have sold out. I get that side of it, but at the same time, like, why is Nathan?
It's not selling out. It's capitalism. That's America.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't blame him for making $1.
Yeah, it's capitalism. He's found a way to make money off of his name, image, and likeness. If you want to bring it back to sports, that is capitalizing on your stardom, your celebrity, your fandom. I don't understand what you mean by selling out. Right?
I guess they mean like selling out to the vegan foods, Not
so are you calling Forrest Gump a sellout? Because remember, Forrest Gump put his face on a brand of ping pong paddles that he didn't use. Do you remember? It's been a while, so I can't quote the scene, but I do remember he was hawking Flexo-Lite ping pong paddles.
He was hawking what? Tua?
He was hawking Tua. Yeah, but he was selling Flexo-Lite ping pong paddles with his face on one side. And he said, well, I don't like these ping pong paddles. I don't use these ping pong paddles. But Mama said, it's okay.
Mama said. Madcraft says, I don't understand the legality of all this. Seems like a suit.
I just want to know, Cole, how people who essentially, immunity from saying this, play with wieners for a living can be so childish, right? Like, he said here clearly that they have a history of changing the terms. Like, again, I don't know how you change. Where are you guys making up these contracts and writing them out in crayon?
Yeah, it must be.
Like, it should be in your contract that as a contracted member of Major League Eating, representative of Major League Eating, here's what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And I would assume every competitor has a contract with Major League Eating. If once you earn your tour card or whatever they call it, right? There are terms and conditions therein. And Joey Chestnut being a star, I'm sure he has lawyers looking over these things. So, I mean, I don't understand. Like, how do they change the terms on you? This is not the Clemson ACC lawsuit. Clemson can't change the terms. The ACC can't change the terms. It is what it is.
How about this? This is what's sad about the entire story. That he's not going to be competing tomorrow. And now with Joey Chestnut out, Oxford Speed Eater Diesel, Jeffrey Esper is now the odds-on favorite by Las Vegas.
Isn't Kobayashi in this, though?
Yeah, but they say Jeffrey Esper. Let's see.
Kobayashi's fallen off.
Let's make sure he's in this. This is from telegram.com. Oxford's Jeffrey Esper will have a clear shot at climbing to the top of the food chain at Nathan's hot dog eating contest, a perennial winner of the contest. Joey Chestnut was banned, obviously, for defending his title. Esper 49, listen, he is an electronics teacher at Bay Path Regional Vocational Technical High School. God, that's a mouthful. In Charlton.
He's a high school tech teacher.
Yeah. He's going to eat the hot dogs. He said
everybody's got to have a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
He says, I expect it to be a pretty close battle this
What's
year.
What's your side hustle, Cole? Feet picks?
Well, besides that, yeah, I mean, one or two.
Great
Whatever
news.
Works, right?
Great news is, though, Joey Chestnut has not ruled out a return to the Nathan's contest. So I think he feels confident that one of these days they will figure this out. They will put this behind them. They will unban him, water behind the bridge, and he will compete again on the 4th of July, the way it should be. Remember, Cole, you're lucky enough. All of us are lucky enough to be on this earth at the same time as Joey Chestnut and the hot dog eating contest. We only have a limited number of these things. Mm-hmm. I think it would behoove Nathan's and Major League Eating to come off of their high horse and square this thing away.
Trey in Kentucky says, I see an opportunity for Chestnut. He should sign a contract with Hebrew National. He would be blessed for it. That comes from Trey in Kentucky. Billy Bob.
Wouldn't some people get mad at him for signing a deal with a non-Christian hot dog company? Like, that's where we are in this country, right?
We'll fight about anything.
We'll fight about literally anything.
Yeah, they do.
You need to sign with Jesus Dogs or nothing at all.
Jesus Dogs. Billy Bob texts in, all caps, as he always does. Cole, with a K, you going to hawk Tua on some veggie dogs? I've never had a veggie dog. I did see a video, Diesel, where the wife played a prank on her husband and like cooked the carrot to where it was brown and put that in the dog instead of the hot dog wiener, and he didn't even notice, which blows my mind.
He didn't look down and see it.
No, he ate it, like took 2 or 3 bites and didn't notice.
No way.
Swear to God, I saw it today.
Blind taste test.
I mean, how does a carrot cooked taste like a hot dog?
Yeah, I know when I've got a dog in my mouth.
Now, do you think if it
I almost said it a different way, but I knew you perverts would take that and run with it.
Is that what a veggie dog is, just a carrot, or is it really like some processed vegetables? And
I'm sure it's a combination, an amalgamation of things and spices and artificial smoke flavorings and things like that. I mean, all you people getting all up in arms about him even signing a deal with Impossible Dogs. Are you telling me you've never used liquid smoke when you're cooking a meal?
You know what's crazy?
You've never used it. Yeah. See, there you go. It's not real smoke.
No,
but you got no problem with that.
It's good. It's really good. Here's what's amazing about hot dogs. On a completely different side note, we're okay in America eating hot dogs that are literally tubings made of intestines, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not okay with eating a soy protein, gluten protein that may contain egg whites, which is a veggie dog. That's what a veggie dog is, according to the trusted source of Wikipedia. So we're basically saying, Diesel, it's okay to eat intestines and everything else, that are crushed up into a hot dog form. That's disgusting, but we all eat them. I prefer the beef dogs personally, but it's not okay to eat the
intestine is just the casing.
Yeah, but what about the other stuff?
Lips and hooves, man.
Ugh.
Lips and hooves. William Brady says, you can never have fake meat in your mouth.
Comment of the day.
Jesus, William.
Texter from the 327. Joey Chestnut banned for PEDs, a.k.a. Zantac. I like it.
Texter says, Hebrew national dogs are circumcised. You just got to nip the tip. You know what I'm saying?
Jeez. You people are crazy. Crazy.
I do want to tune in just to take the ratings away from the Nathan's hot dog, because I do tune in and watch it most years.
I usually
if I get lucky and find it, I'll watch it. But I do want to tune in and watch Joey Chestnut's thing, whether it's on a stream, whether it's probably not going to be on TV somewhere. But I want to find out how to watch this thing, and I want to give him my ratings. I give him my click, my download, my view, whatever it is. And screw Nathan's famous, screw Major League Eating until they rectify this problem.
Let's do it. Let's say screw them. We're not going to watch. We're going to tune in on X, maybe X. Somebody on X or Twitter will have it in Texas, wherever that contest is going on.
See, now this texter's trying to get me in trouble. Diesel AI voice suggestion. I know when I have a blank in my blank. Not reading it for you.
Oh,
texter.
Oh, boy. That's funny. Texter. Good one. Good
See,
try.
I read things before I say them on the air. I am not Ron Burgundy.
I had to hit a dump button a few weeks ago for that very reason, unfortunately.
Perverts.
All right, coming up next, we mentioned it earlier. It's the, if you don't know, it's talking season right now. It's dead season. We talk some sports, but just to be honest with you, we talk other things other than sports as well. The world sensation of the Hawk Tua girl. She has signed with a management company. Big news. She has plans for her future. She quit her job. We'll tell you what those plans are next. So somehow the Hawk Tua girl makes her second appearance on Wire to Wire today. She made the 5 o'clock fight, and now Diesel, she makes another segment. Who is it we're talking about? Haley Welch, the thick accent, as you played audio earlier in the show. That's, thick might be an understatement. Maybe you have to do thick with 2 C's on this one. So the reason she's making another appearance is she quit her job. You said earlier in the last hour that she worked in a spring factory. So she's quit her job, and now, because someone stuck a microphone in her face in downtown Nashville, her entire life, from a popularity standpoint, from a financial standpoint, has changed. So Haley Welch, the girl who went viral, has signed a deal with a management company. According to reports, Hawk Tua girl has signed with a management firm, Penthouse, as she looks into launch official social media channels to capitalize on her viral fame. Here's what she said in the statement. Please don't wake me. 2 weeks ago, it was just my granny and me in an itty-bitty Belfast, Tennessee. Did I say something silly? And now my life has changed. Isn't God great? Can't wait for what's ahead. The world's gone crazy for this Haley Welch Diesel. And it's the world we live in that a microphone in your face and you saying something stupid can change your life. But that's where we are.
I love the story. Look, I mean, do we think that she's going to have staying power and be a famous person forever? No, of course not. I would imagine she's going to get a podcast. She's going to get a line of
apparel, hats,
T-shirts, whatever. And then whatever else she may be able to get a small brand deal to do. I mean, look, any brand on social media would be really smart to try to sign her right now. I just wonder, like, what kind of brands would be right for Haley Welch, Miss Hawk Tua. Maybe a new line of toothpaste.
Okay.
A new line of toothpaste. You brush your teeth. You done Hawk Tua right there to spit it out.
Good suggestion.
How about a PSA campaign for Tide Pods? You know, you put a Tide Pod in your mouth, Hawk Tua, get it out of there.
Gross,
right?
So,
I mean, yeah, for a safety campaign for kids, that would be a good one.
God, here's what's interesting about this. I heard comedian Theo Vaughn say this in an interview one time. Going viral, Diesel, going big time is hard enough. However, I heard Theo say that staying viral is what's hard.
Sure.
And while she's definitely gone viral, to your point a minute ago, I don't think this lasts. I think it fades out in 6 months.
Does she even want to stay viral?
Well, I think she does because she's quit her job and she's probably going to rely on this now as her income. But how long is that going to last, though?
William Brady says, how about mud flaps for truckers?
God.
I mean, if you're her, and it all depends on what she wants with her life, right? Does she want to become a meme? I mean, she's going to be a meme forever, right? I mean, think about famous memes, like, you know, that the kid and sitting behind his computer doing that thing, doing the thumbs up, and you know, there's the little Ethiopian boy who's like staring at the white lady, like, all I got to do is do what? You're gonna give me some food?
Yeah,
you know, that kind of stuff. Like those live forever.
I think that video will live forever.
Yeah,
I just don't know that. Like, if you tell me she's in her what, early 20s?
Probably
21. So you're going to tell me, let's put 20 years onto her life. 41 years old. You're telling me that by the time she's 40, she's still going to be making something off of this. That's where I have it. I mean, is it possible? Maybe, but that's 20 years, Diesel.
We have like 5 seconds of her showing personality. Maybe she has a lot of personality. Maybe she is the class clown and she's the most entertaining person. You know, all of her friends know, and they say, man, she's so funny. And maybe she somehow parlays this into something. I don't know. That'd be awesome. I mean, hell, she could interview lady porn stars, and that would be entertaining right there in and of itself, right? That's on brand. Does she want to go there, though?
I don't know. I don't know where she's going to go. Listen, was it sensational? Was it viral? Absolutely.
Windshield washer fluid.
God, that's terrible. Joey on the text line says she's going to sponsor the new flavor of Listerine.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Maybe she could be the after sponsor for the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating contest.
Ooh.
After you're done.
Well, you're a veggie dog.
Yeah, Hawk Tua, get all those dogs out of your stomachs.
Management company, though. She signs, Haley Welch has signed with a management company.
Smart.
And I guess, it's smart to sign with a management company, and they're probably going to have all kind of different platforms, like you said, online platforms and podcasts and social
There's
channels.
a million idiots who will buy Hawk Tua merch. Right?
No, there is. I just don't know for how long.
What if this would be really cool. What if a new species of hawk is discovered and it's named after her? The Hawkus tuus, something like that. I don't know what the scientific name for a hawk is.
No, I don't either.
But like, what if they named it, they could use her first name, her last name. They could use Tua as part of it.
Her and Tua Tagovailoa should do something.
They should.
They really should.
They should get married and make babies.
God. 327 says, remember, all the fame from the Where's the Beef lady had after Wendy's? No, you don't. Texter saying you don't remember the fame from her.
Yeah, but you remember the campaign. She's probably getting paid in residuals. There would be, we have just down the street here, Cole. We have Ghost Brands. They have an office just down the road. They're a marketing company.
Sure.
Those companies, that's what they do, is they create sensational viral ad campaigns. And it doesn't have to be some gigantic national campaign for it to be very lucrative for her. Madcraft, this is gross. I had seen this. I didn't want to talk about this on the radio, but you brought it up. We have to read it. He says she was offered $600 to spit into a jar.
That's true. I saw that.
That is downright disgusting. But
unbelievable.
I mean, if somebody's willing to pay it, would you do it?
Yeah.
You would?
For $600?
$600?
Where's the jar?
Is your dignity worth that to you?
$600?
I mean, she did make a BJ joke on the internet. That's what she's famous for.
That's what she's famous for.
Like, how much dignity do you have at this point?
Oh, that's funny.
When we come back, Cole, we had a fascinating conversation earlier with Chapel Fowler, who works for the state newspaper. He covers Clemson football. It was live in person in Charlotte as the ACC Clemson lawsuit hearings were being held. He was silenced. He was gagged, not literally, figuratively, by a judge. He couldn't live tweet this thing. So he's jumping out of the courtroom every couple of minutes to send a tweet so that we could know what was going on. We'll have him on next. We'll replay that for you on the other side on the Fan Upstate.
from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me go from one Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more with yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Jackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
As if there was any doubt LeBron James was staying with the Lakers, it ended with the team selecting his son Bronny in the second round of the NBA draft, giving him a 4-year deal. And today it's official that the King is back in L.A., signing a 2-year, $104 million extension. So LeBron and Bronny will become the first father and son teammates in NBA history. James will be 40 in December, but you certainly wouldn't know it last year after he averaged nearly 26 points a game. J.J. Redick may be a first-time head coach, but he has added a couple of assistants with significant experience, naming Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks to his staff. The Brewers lead the NL Central, but aren't resting on their laurels, acquiring starter Aaron Savali from the Rays for a minor leaguer. The Yankees have cooled off after a hot start, and the Orioles have overtaken them for first place in the AL East. Baltimore opened its series last night in Seattle with a win, while the Yanks try to bounce back from the series opening loss to the Reds after Aaron Judge hit his 32nd homer in that loss. The Phillies keep rolling, 56 wins and counting, and go for their third straight tonight against the Cubs at Wrigley as Zach Wheeler takes the mound in search of win number 10. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
When it comes to the best sports talk anywhere, let's get this all going, man. Listen to the Fan Upstate on Odyssey no matter where you are. In the car, at home, at work. Download the free Odyssey app on your phone. Search the Fan Upstate, and you're in the game. Hey, now we roll. The Fan Upstate. Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
If you do not know, if you have not heard, this is a 5 o'clock fight. Diesel and I have to disagree on 3 topics. I like this one. You put this one on the rundown, and I cannot wait to tell you you're wrong. Gas station food. Eat it or leave it. Leave it all behind. I don't eat that stuff. It's not good food. Diesel.
I don't care what you say. It's probably been sitting there for hours. It always gives you the bubble guts right after you eat it. I try to stay away from it as much as I can.
Well, I hate to tell you, Diesel, but you are wrong. I am not above eating gas station food. Some days it just hits different, man.
Tune in every day at 5 o'clock to see what Diesel and Cole argue about next.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Turn on, leave on. Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate. When it comes to the best sports talk anywhere, let's get this all going, man. Listen to the Fan Upstate on Odyssey no matter where you are. In the car, at home, at work. Download the free Odyssey app on your phone. Search the Fan Upstate, and you're in the game. Hey, now we roll. The Fan Upstate.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WSBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan.
Upstate.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
You ready? Let's go.
It's alive!
From the fields to the courts, and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire.
Well, I don't know what's more depressing. We were just talking about the Atlanta Braves, but then, you know, I think about our good buddy Chapel Fowler, who had to sit in Charlotte yesterday in Mecklenburg County and listen to judges and everybody else that has to talk in a court case in a lawsuit. Chapel, was it that boring yesterday, or did you find the ACC versus Clemson lawsuit to be fascinating? What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I definitely felt a little dumber after this 2.5 hours. A lot of smart people in that room who make a lot more money than me or either of y'all for good reason. But yeah, no, honestly, I found it refreshing and interesting just because since all this stuff started in March, we've essentially been reading these arguments, hearing these arguments through online court filings. So to put faces to names, names to faces, to kind of see how these lawyers operated on both sides. Clemson's side a little bit more reserved, straightforward, purple PowerPoints, orange text. The ACC's lawyer, Jim Cooney, kind of more of a classic showman. He played a scene from Casablanca during the hearing. He put up a picture of Jim Clements shaking hands with John Spofford and put a big, superimposed circle over Jim Clements as he was talking about him, a little bit more visual, a lot of laughs. It was a pretty loose hearing, all things considered, polite, but there were some tense moments, and it was really fascinating across the board. So, Cooney kind of kept me peppy with his one-liners and stuff, but overall, ton of information, kind of recycling the arguments we've heard already and talked about already in these filings, but to see it in person was a little different in a good way.
Chappell Fowler of the State Newspaper joins us here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Chappell, you were talking about some of the showmanship there. Do you know if Graham Neff considered at any point showing up to the hearing, in a ratty outfit with a 10 cup, jangling it to try to get some change? I mean, if you want to sell the idea that Clemson is poor because the ACC has made them this way, isn't that a great way to do it as well?
Perhaps so, yeah. Graham was there. Jim Phillips was not there. This was a hearing where client attendance was allowed and recommended, but wasn't required. So Clemson brought their lawyer group, and Graham Neff was there just as an observer, though. No active part in the case or anything or the hearing that day. He just went with a plain suit and a purple tie. And the ACC had about 4 or 5 of their lawyers there as well. But no showmanship outside of Cooney. But his stuff was pretty entertaining. And I think both sides and the judge had kind of appreciated the levity and those little breaks in the moments in something that did last 2.5 hours and then did involve a lot of back and forth and challenging and stuff like that. So it was a fun little snippet of the legal community there on the 6th floor of the Mecklenburg County Courthouse.
Of course, Jim Phillips wasn't there, right? Like, why would he be there? I mean, what sense does it make for the guy to be there? But no, he's not going to be there where he has to answer questions. Hey, right now, Chappell, here in the upstate, there's probably someone getting in their car that may not be the biggest sports fan, may not be the biggest Clemson fan in the world. And here's us talking about the ACC versus Clemson lawsuit. Can you reset? Can you kind of, for the audience that may not know, can you bring them to light in what this lawsuit is about?
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to get a refresher. I find myself doing the same sometimes too as I get so deep in the weeds. The long and short of it here is obviously realignment's a big thing now. Clemson has been looking at other options, has been considering that for a few years now, just as you look at the revenue discrepancies. And, you might get to a point in 5, 6, 7, 8 years where any given SEC team could pay a really good offensive coordinator, $4.5 million a year. And any good coordinator could only get, let's say, I don't know, $1 million or $1.5 million from ACC school. So you can kind of see how little stuff like that can add up over time and make the gap between the haves and the have-nots even wider, even though we are talking about, millions and millions of dollars. And I do understand that. But college football is a entertainment and revenue business. So that's kind of what these people care about, the bottom line. So Clemson has filed this lawsuit against the ACC, essentially challenging the grant of rights that they signed in 2013 and re-signed in 2016 that grant the media rights to their home games through 2036 to the ACC. And that on top of a big exit fee kind of has made the ballpark cost to get out of that conference, like somewhere in the $500 million range, which is a lot of money, obviously, even in these high stakes college environments. So they're trying to essentially find some legal way to knock that exit fee down to, I don't know, just the exit fee instead of the grant of rights stuff, nothing at all, something in between, so they can more easily move to another conference if that opportunity comes about. FSU has done that too. The ACC has countered to both those schools and seems intent on fighting it and has a really solid contract in place. You've heard the phrase ironclad get thrown out about the grant of rights. I'm sure it's not perfect. You could poke holes in it like you could anything, but for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward contract that Clemson and Florida State signed that kind of grants their media rights to the conference through 2036, and they signed it willingly. So they're in a little bit of an uphill battle, but that's kind of what we're in the process of right now. Figuring out the venue where these cases are actually going to be heard is the step we're in. Yesterday's hearing, and next week in Pickens County is going to be a hearing on the same thing. So we are in a very preliminary stage of it right now, but it's all about money in the grand scheme of things.
So, Chappell, what would make Clemson happy in all of this is more money. So since this lawsuit has began, has the ACC done anything at all to increase the per school revenue distribution? And I know Clemson and Florida State had mentioned going to an uneven revenue distribution. Where are we in the minutia of that possibility?
I believe that is going to get rolled out with this upcoming athletic year. It's funny, that feels like that was such a long time ago. That was kind of the dominating talk like last spring, and something that those schools were talking about as a way to, give them a little bit more money and maybe appease them. That was kind of the framing of it. Obviously, they've both taken more drastic measures since then. But yeah, I think that's going to come into play this athletic year for the ACC. But in the grand scheme of things, again, we're talking big, like millions and millions of dollars. What that can do for a school is a significant bump. I forget the specifics, but I think if you hit all the thresholds, all the parameters for football, basketball, this is all revenue sport focused, uneven revenue distribution thing. You can maybe get an extra, I'm forgetting, somewhere in $10, $20 million, something like that. And that's a lot of money. But if you're talking about a gap that I think is projected to reach 40, 50 for many SEC to ACC school given like 2029, I'm forgetting the specific number. Obviously, that's not exactly up to par. So that's one small part of this that honestly I forgot about that you mentioned. Just with all the lawsuit talk and everything, you forget that's something the ACC has tried to do to kind of appease these guys. But I think we've all realized at this point that, that's kind of small potatoes versus everything else that goes into realignment and what these schools ultimately want down the line.
What do you expect to hear from the July 12th hearing, Chappell?
That one's interesting to me. I think what I heard yesterday didn't particularly surprise me. This is a Charlotte judge, the chief judge of the North Carolina Business Court, hearing this ACC versus Clemson case. This is ACC's countersuit. He has already ruled once in a similar case like this with the Florida State ACC suit, and he allowed that case to continue in Charlotte. The technical part of that was he denied FSU's motions to dismiss that suit or stay that lawsuit. Clemson made those same motions or argued those same motions yesterday. So that's not too surprising to me. I think in hearing the judge, Lewis Bledsoe, kind of talk and interrogate both sides, if you had to ask me for a prediction there, I would assume that he would deny those motions from Clemson and allow that case, ACC versus Clemson, to proceed in Charlotte. But the July 12th one is interesting because in the FSU case, their judge on there in Tallahassee did not rule that the case should go to Charlotte. He ruled that the case should continue in Tallahassee. So this Pickens County Court judge could stir the pot a lot if he also finds that case on there, Clemson versus ACC, which is the original one, can continue where it is instead of going up to Charlotte. So that, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a coin flip. I don't read his mind, but that one I think is going to be a lot more interesting because if that one goes in the direction of, yes, we're going to continue to hear this case in South Carolina, you've got potentially two cases running parallel to each other, just like is happening in the ACC Florida State stuff. And again, there's appeals on appeals on appeals to be done with that. But you could be in a spot where in both of those kind of disputes, there's multiple cases running at the same time, which would be, I forget what the judge used yesterday, something like litigation chaos. Not maybe preferable to him or to the efficiency of things, but for Clemson, that would definitely be a win.
Definitely look him up on Twitter at Chappell Fowler, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Chappell, in your opinion, how much does this lawsuit have to do with Clemson rejecting ESPN's request to move the Palmetto Bowl to Black Friday? We had a lot of conversation about that yesterday. We had a quote from an ACC official who basically reprimanded Clemson for not playing ball and for not doing what they need to do. In your mind, was this a little bit of spiteful revenge, or are these two things completely separate?
That's a good question. I think that maybe could fall into some growing discontent or feeling that the conference, as Clemson has laid out in its lawsuits a few times, that they are arguing that the conference hasn't exactly done its job being proactive in terms of adding new schools, adding schools that, are considered good football schools or good schools for the brain. Clemson was one of only 3 schools that voted against bringing in Cal, Stanford, and SMU last year. So I think you can maybe lump it into that general feeling of discontent. Like, I'm sure Clemson wasn't thrilled to get a request to move a home game on a Saturday right after Thanksgiving, when so many people have their travel plans already set and booked up, to a Friday instead. I do think that it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a leak, as some people are saying. This was a public court exhibit where this email came in, but it was certainly not an accident on Clemson's part to include that. There's a lot of really smart people over there, and you can't tell me that they didn't know that including that email exchange was not going to go viral and kind of fire up their fan base. I think strategically it was a smart thing to do because, like you said, y'all were talking about it. I saw lots of Twitter discussion about it yesterday. Fans seem to be kind of fired up about Clemson, putting the ACC in their place and saying no to that, getting reprimanded for it. So I don't think that's like directly tied to it. But it certainly kind of fits into these last few years of growing discontent, considering realignment, thinking about other conferences, pushing ACC for stuff, having some dialogue, as came up in the hearing yesterday about Clemson and the ACC maybe doing some sort of NDA or a legal standstill where they wouldn't sue each other until a certain date. And then ultimately that fizzling and getting us to where we are right now.
Hey, Chappell, you cover all things Clemson. Your thoughts, your reaction on Nolan Noraki being bold enough to say, hey, I'll head down to Columbia. South Carolina baseball earns a commitment today from the Clemson infielder. Your thoughts?
Yeah, probably not a coincidence that the guy sending out the welcome home tweet for that one was Monty Lee, right? I think that stuff with the portal nowadays, like, it's gotten a little bit blurred. Like whenever, who was it, the running back who went from Clemson to South Carolina however many years ago, I think that situations like that are more different than they are now. I think guys, more than anything else, especially if you only stay in a program for a year, 2 years, you're just really looking for an opportunity. So, bold, I think, is a good word. Like, he knew that decision was going to get him some Twitter grief, just like it did for his teammate, Nathan All, who did it a few weeks ago. And those 3 guys who did it 2 cycles ago when Lee had been fired. I don't mind it at all, because for me, it just makes the rivalry series even spicier and more fun to cover and more eventful. So I know that those 2 guys will get a few more chirps at Doug Kingsmore next March. But with portal stuff nowadays, I don't think anything surprises me. And going from rival to rival, I think, when it's more about unlimited transfers and everything like that, and let me find a spot that works for me, I think it's just going to become more and more and more the norm.
Chappell Fowler writes about Clemson for the state newspaper. Last question for me here, Chappell. Does it feel to you, with all of these court proceedings, like the ACC is ultimately cutting off its nose to spite its face? You're suing your biggest moneymaker to keep them, which also ensures that they will 100% leave down the road when they get a chance. From the ACC perspective, I understand why you do what you have to do to keep them, but is this also shooting yourself in the foot?
I think they're digging their feet in, and like you said, I understand why. In my personal opinion, I think they have the upper hand in both of these cases, just because of how stuff like this has been ruled on before in terms of venue and the specific contract nitty-gritty details that Clemson and Florida State are both picking at. I don't think the ACC has been perfect by any means in terms of tackling, realignment and stuff, it kind of always seems like they're being reactionary versus proactive. That kind of came up language-wise in Florida State's lawsuit and Clemson's lawsuit. But at the same time, like if you're up 35-0 in a college football game, you don't want to take your foot off the gas. So I understand why they're fighting this hard. I think it would be kind of a tough thing to sell otherwise. And if you have those two big moneymakers, like you mentioned, like stuck with you, and there's a way to keep them doing that, I understand why you want to push for that, you know. And an angry Clemson and an angry Florida State may be angry, but, you know, unless they decide to not play games anymore, which is not going to happen because they need to make the money too. Those are still, you know, your teams and schools that are representing your conference. And if Clemson goes 10-2 this fall and it's suing the ACC, like they're still both going to benefit monetarily from that. So it's kind of a really strange in between. Like I think of that picture of Graham Neff and Jim Phillips side by side at the basketball. I think it was in Memphis at this point, one of the tournament games, and they're separate like suits and Clemson ties and just kind of nodding to each other and watching the game. That stuff happens, you know, spring meetings, all that stuff. It's a really weird position to be in. But again, I think if you're Jim Phillips or the ACC, you may have made some mistakes in the past, whether that was Swofford or farther back in terms of realignment strategy or lack of strategy. But right now, I certainly understand why they're essentially saying we're going to fight this till the end.
He is Chapel Fowler of the State newspaper. Definitely give him a follow because this thing, it feels like, you know, you could almost live tweet these proceedings. At any point, a big bombshell could drop and change everything. So definitely look him up. Give him a follow at Chapel Fowler on Twitter. We thank you so much for your time today.
And I think they were told, by the way, you're not allowed to tweet during the court case. Is that right?
Yeah, that was going to be a little joke because I signed off. I appreciate y'all giving me the time. Yeah, we had no idea what we could do or not do. All I knew was I was there to cover hearing, and I was not trying to get found for any contempt of court one way or the other. So I may have been the subject of a small First Amendment violation, according to some lawyers on Twitter. But, you know, we live to see another day. And I was able to take my notepad out and go back to, like I was in a French history class back in UNC again. I was writing, 5 pages on my little legal pad, and I have a blister on my thumb that I'm looking at right now for it. But I was able to record it. I got permission to do that. So I survived. But yeah, no tweeting on that one. We'll see about this one next Friday. I'm in the process of figuring that out right now.
We appreciate that, Chapel. Hey, man, fantastic stuff. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. That's great. No tweeting. How dumb is that? What is the point of that, you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there
to limit the media and how they could cover this? I mean, Chapel, he kind of laid it out for us there that this is a trial of middle ground. It's nobody is in a rock solid position as far as like what can they do to amend all of this?
Sure.
How can they fix this? Well, there is no fixing this. How can they make Clemson happy? Pay them like double the amount of money that they're making. Well, they can't afford to pay them double that they're making. Well, then they can't make them happy. So Clemson's going to continue the lawsuit.
Hey, I'll say this.
This feels like a messy divorce, right?
No,
it's just getting dragged out.
And look, I'll even say I think it's pointless that we're even having the court case. I mean, really, I think it's pointless.
Unfiltered sports insanity on Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Go to the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center. Here's the Upstate's most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Partly cloudy skies tonight with a low temperature of 73 degrees and light southwest winds. 4th of July, Thursday, scattered showers and storms with a high of 95 degrees. Friday, scattered storms.
Fan Upstate.
All right, we have to find a winner. We talked about it for a few minutes earlier in the show, Diesel, back in the 3 o'clock hour, which feels like 3 or 4 days ago. But this patriotic movie conversation, the most patriotic movie ever, or the best patriotic movie ever, we've got to find a winner. We had some good suggestions on the text line. I'm going to try my best to scroll all the way back to when those texts came in. I know Red Dawn came in late, and that's a good one that we didn't talk about. So if you didn't get your text in during the first segment, I know a lot of you listening now weren't listening in 3 o'clock hour, new audience. Text the show 71307. Start your text with the word fan. We're trying to decide what the best patriotic movie ever is, and we've had some really good suggestions.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think much farther than the question. They just said, "Oh, The Patriot." The Patriot is the most patriotic
Easy
movie.
answer, right?
Yeah, I like my patriotic movies to have a little more realism in them, right? Otherwise, it's just a great story. And The Patriot, a little fast and loose with the details, as a lot of Mel Gibson historical movies are. Do you really think his version of Passion of the Christ was super accurate?
I told you, man, I'm not the biggest Mel Gibson fan.
We had a lot of people texting in. A majority were texting in for The Patriot. It's almost like they go somewhere first, they latch on to The Patriot, and then you say, "Oh, but what about Top Gun and Maverick?" Those are both patriotic movies, right? I feel like a good patriotic movie, you got to feel good about America when you're walking out. Like,
that's true.
American Sniper makes you feel kind of dark.
It's kind of
about America.
It's kind of, I don't want to say depressing, but
there was like a Mark Wahlberg movie where he was a sniper.
Yeah.
Blanking off top of my head.
It.
But it also brings
Mark
in
Wahlberg.
like espionage and conspiracy. You don't walk away from that movie feeling good about America. You feel like the government is against us.
Oh,
right?
you mean Shooter?
Shooter. There you go. Great movie. Love
Oh
the
my
movie.
God.
But it's not what I would call a patriotic movie.
I wouldn't either. Even though he's been turned on by the government, right?
Right.
In that movie, which I forgot about Shooter. I guess I wouldn't consider it a patriotic movie either. But man, that's a good movie.
I feel like it's going to come down to Saving Private Ryan, which is a movie about, sacrifice and family and
it's a good movie.
The army doing the right thing to go and rescue somebody whose brothers passed away.
Yeah.
Now that movie is also not based on a lot. It's based on a true story, but there's very little reality in the Saving Private Ryan movie.
Yeah.
Compared to the actual story. Like that whole thing of like based on a true story doesn't mean that this is a borderline documentary. All it needs is a nugget to be true.
It's true. It is a good one. Fat Page says it's Forrest Gump. Why have we had 3 Forrest Gump suggestions? I don't think Forrest Gump's a patriotic movie. Is it? I mean, are we really saying that
there are patriotic elements? There's football in it. There's
ping pong. You do it better.
There's Forrest Gump punching out some hippie who beats up on Jenny.
Jenny. God, that's a good movie. It just, I'm sorry, Fat Page.
Sorry, I broke up your Black Pat the Party.
I like that, but I also like fried shrimp, grilled shrimp,
fried shrimp, boiled shrimp, broiled shrimp, French fried potato. No, that's
he talks about all the shrimps.
That's Sling Blade.
Yeah,
I went to Sling Blade.
What
French fried potatoes?
I'm talking about all the shrimps. Remember?
Shrimp burger, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp scampi.
That's it.
But it was Bubba. Bubba says
that was Bubba. You're right. 991 says Miracle. I'm not familiar with that.
But Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
I totally forgot that you had that drop.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
That's terrible, but hilarious.
I only caught 5.
Are you familiar with Miracle, Diesel?
I do like the movie Miracle. It's been a long time since I've seen it. The hockey movie, was it Kurt Russell? I think plays the coach, the hard ass coach who whips them into shape. And they end up beating the Russians. Any movie where we beat the Russians, beat the Nazis, or beat the Chinese,
America.
I mean, by that standard, Indiana Jones is a borderline patriotic movie.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Trey says Hot Shots with Charlie Sheen is a patriotic war movie. Never seen it.
I love Hot Shots.
Never seen
I
it.
liked Hot Shots Part 2 better, personally. Apollo 13 is not a patriotic movie.
Who said that?
This Texter. Apollo 13 is not a patriotic movie. It's a heroic movie about the American space program.
Yeah, that's true.
Screwing up.
Yeah, I don't think that counts, does it?
We Were Soldiers, also a great movie, Mel Gibson movie. So I know you wouldn't like it. I do have that. I have a copy of that movie, believe it or not.
Stupid is, stupid does miss blue.
Miss Blue.
Miss Blue.
Stupid is, stupid does miss Blue.
We Were Soldiers came in on the text line.
Yeah, it's a Vietnam movie about early incursions into Vietnam from the U.S. Army Air Cavalry. Good movie.
Yeah.
Also very bleak.
Texter says Miracles about the USA hockey team. See, I hadn't seen that. I apologize. Might have to add that to mine.
That's a great movie. You should definitely.
Really?
It's a sports movie too.
Yeah.
So
you would consider it patriotic? Though?
I would consider it patriotic. Yeah.
71307. We're getting a lot of texts in. I need to know right now. Texter says We Were Soldiers. We've got that one twice in this segment. That's a good one. Right now, yes or no, texters. Is Forrest Gump a patriotic movie? Because that's what I'm tore up. I'm tore up on this, man. I love Forrest Gump, but I don't know if it's patriotic or not. Streamers, Tolos on we have 239 people watching right now on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Tolos, is Forrest Gump patriotic? Yes or no? Hard answer. Bottom line, I'm saying no.
Lieutenant Dan had a grandfather fight and die in every single American war.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
Stupid is, stupid does miss blue.
It's a great one. It is a great one, but it's not a patriotic movie. Texter 618, first vote, says yes.
The Army doctor called it $1 million wound, but the Army must keep that money because I didn't see a nickel of that $1 million.
We forgot about Zero Dark 30. And Gordon, by the way, says no, Forrest Gump's not patriotic. Zero Dark 30 is a great movie. Have you seen that one?
I can't say.
Bin Laden?
Did I see?
Is that right, Madcraft? Am I saying that right? Zero Dark 30 is about Bin Laden?
I think I saw Zero Dark 30.
It's a good one.
But I can't be positive that I've seen Zero Dark 30.
Madcraft, tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's the Bin Laden movie, right?
That we went and got him. I think I saw that. I think I saw that movie, but I'm not sure.
Well, here I am saying it's a Bin Laden movie, and it may not be. But I'm 90% sure it is. 90%.
I mean, Red Dawn is a what if Russia attacks America and teenagers from a high school football team have to fight them off.
It's true. 618 says Air Force One. It's a good movie.
I hadn't seen that one in a long time.
It's an old movie, right?
Yeah, was that a Harrison Ford movie?
It was a Harrison Ford.
My mom was all into those Tom Clancy movies when I was a kid.
Harrison Ford's great, by the way. I like
he
Harrison
is good.
Ford. 991. Y'all may not consider it patriotic, but I love Hacksaw Ridge. Hate to burst your bubble, but I've never seen Hacksaw Ridge.
I don't know that I've seen Hacksaw Ridge either.
I'm looking it up now.
See, I miss when I was a kid and like there was
Mel Gibson
A&E channel.
Yeah.
Remember A&E? They used to call it Allies and Enemies because all they used to show were World War II documentaries. They would show like Vietnam movies. They probably showed Hacksaw Ridge on that channel. I miss it, man. I miss cable when they actually showed the movies that were relevant to the type of content they should be putting on that channel. God, I miss that so much. You know, like when you could watch the Discovery Channel and learn something, discover something new, and then it just became all reruns.
Matt says, yes, after the events of 9/11, we went and got him. You're correct, Cole, on Zero Dark 30 being about Bin Laden. It's a really good one. I forgot about it. Texter says it's not a movie, but Band of Brothers is very patriotic.
I put that on my list.
Thank you
very much. Yeah, that was on my list the first go around.
There you go. So Band of Brothers, getting a few nominations. Joey says Patriot, end of story.
How about, I mean, we hadn't brought it back up into this segment, but earlier on, we had a ton of messages, people were tweeting the show. We put this on Twitter?
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. So we mentioned Top Gun and Maverick, and everybody lost. Oh, I didn't even think about Top Gun and Maverick. Yeah, that's a very patriotic movie. I think that one might be the most universal that everybody's seen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
like, that is
especially with it being kind of newer.
That's a movie that in a series, especially, that now crosses multiple generations. It set all kinds of records when Top Gun Maverick came out. And do we know what the third one's going to be called yet? They're doing a third Top Gun movie.
Third?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. On Twitter, Rough Boy says, gotta go with the Patriot. Big Mike says, can't believe no one said best of the best. Never heard of it.
So this Top Gun 3 is coming in fall 2025.
You're kidding me.
So we're a year away.
I had no idea.
We're a year away from another Top Gun movie.
Let me tell you, initial reaction, I'm mad about that.
Don't be, because
there's no way it's going to be better than Maverick.
But people said the same thing. There's no way Maverick is going to be better than Top Gun.
Okay, it better be.
What if Cole? Okay, since I know you're a fan of this, this is called bringing it all full circle.
Mm-hmm.
What if they were doing flashbacks with an AI Val Kilmer? You love the AI singer. You love the AI singer, right? And we've seen it in Star Wars. They did an AI like Grand Admiral Tarkin in Star Wars, and it didn't look terrible. They did AI Luke Skywalker on I think a Mandalorian episode, and the internet lost their minds.
That's nuts. Tiger Pal Rachel on Twitter says both Top Gun movies for the win. Ron on Twitter, appreciate you listening and following us. Ron says the Patriot, but American Sniper is a close second.
Fat Paid says, I'm going to read this the way Fat Paid wrote it. I don't know if I can get in trouble for this, but Fat Paid says Top Gun is probably the most homosexual movie series of all time. Yes. Fat Paid, I think 5 seconds on the internet, and you would learn that's not true.
How is that one of the most
I think he's talking about the volleyball scene and then the beach football scene.
They're playing football together. You can play football.
It's America.
In the backyard.
That's patriotic right there. Is playing football on the beach.
What's homosexual about Top Gun Maverick?
I think Fat Paid got up in his feels because maybe it touched a little too close to home.
With Top Gun?
Yeah. I mean, do you feel a certain way, Fat Paid, when you touch volleyball?
I mean,
said.
Wait, is there anything wrong with men playing volleyball? Because I love sand volleyball. Do you like volleyball?
I do love playing sand volleyball. It's a blast.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
so. I think Fat Paid just struck a nerve.
Man, that's depressing because I've never heard anyone call Top Gun homosexual before. But he says the YMCA music video is straighter than Tom Cruise buddying around with his pals.
See. He says, y'all two oil each other up. They're not oiled up. They're sweaty. I mean, Fat Paid. Picture where they are. They're in Southern California.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's summertime.
They're listening to Jim Rome.
Yeah. No, they were listening to, who's saying that? The Playing with the Boys. The name of the song doesn't help.
Playing with what?
Playing with the Boys.
Yeah, that didn't help at all. I wouldn't have gone there. But
who's saying Kenny Loggins? Kenny Loggins was everywhere. Kenny Loggins was everywhere in the 80s. So it's a bunch of buddies playing beach volleyball. It's hot. And if you've ever played beach volleyball, sand volleyball, you know that sand will get everywhere. So you got to take your shirt off. And then you get sweaty. See, Fat Paid, I think is I think it's edging up a little too close to his feels. And he feels a certain kind of way about seeing sweaty, oily dudes. And he doesn't know how to deal with those emotions.
Tyler, Fat Paid.
So we still haven't got any closer to the actual answer to this.
Well, My answer is Top Gun Maverick.
My answer is Top Gun Maverick.
Yes, we agreed. But I believe the Tolos. I believe. Was it the Patriot?
What's the number one answer? A Patriot. Number one answer.
Patriot was number one answer from the tweets.
So then we need to take this to Twitter and give people only these two options, because if we don't,
Patriot.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Because then people will just keep inputting their own options, and then nobody will ever come to an agreement.
Fat Page said hitting me with a Tyler was foul.
Hit him again.
Tyler.
Hit him again.
Tyler.
All righty. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
So we need all of you. Tolos, unite right here, right now. No more throwing out other options. We appreciate all the options that you've thrown out. Yes, Miracle is great. Yes, Zero Dark 30 was great. Yes, Red Dawn was great. Saving Private Ryan was great. But I need your votes right here, right now, between the Patriot and Top Gun Maverick. Patriot versus Top Gun Maverick. What's the most patriotic movie between those two?
We're going to text them in?
Yeah, text them in, message them in on the stream, however you do it. And wash your damn hands.
I love that. I don't even know what we're talking about. Hey, wash your hands, boy. All right. We're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of it. The Patriot versus Top Gun Maverick. Heck, I'll continue it next. Diesel's going to a concert.
Yeah. Going to go see some rock and roll.
Little rock and roll. Honest question. For somebody who's not a rock and roll guy, could I understand the words of this concert?
50%. 50%.
50-50. All right. At least you're honest about it. All right. We'll find a winner. Maybe even have time to hit some daily wires and get back to sports. Maybe not. Who knows? You're going to ride with me last segment. Phone lines, I may open them as well. Next.
FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the Free Odyssey app. Now, the Infinity Sports Network. Entrance on the real field of competition.
Well, we thought we had it narrowed down to Top Gun Maverick and The Patriot for the best patriotic movie ever. Are y'all okay with those two? By the way, Diesel had a run. He's going to a concert. So you're taking it home with me. Are we okay with the two options? Because Madcraft is being the student that doesn't want to cooperate on the stream. Madcraft says, I disagree on the two options. Top Gun Mav was great, but it would always finish second to Pearl Harbor, Saving Private Ryan, etc. So I guess that's the question. You don't think, Madcraft, and I ask the rest of you listening, as we put a bow on this Wednesday edition of Wire to Wire, the disrespect for Top Gun Maverick. Pearl Harbor's a great movie. Saving Private Ryan, I like it. I don't think any of them are, I'm a Patriot fan. I like The Patriot. It's a good one. That's probably the one that was suggested more than any other movie. But what's with the hate? What's with the hate? Texter from the 901 chimes in. Pearl Harbor was terrible, says a texter from the 901. Tell us how you really feel. Texter. I liked it. I didn't think it was the best movie ever. So if I had to go watch Pearl Harbor tonight and then turn around and watch Top Gun Maverick, Madcraft, to your complaint, I think I would still choose Top Gun Maverick over Pearl Harbor. So I think I would agree with the texter from the 901 there. It's not a terrible movie. But look, it's hard. It's really hard to say which one's more patriotic. I mean, it really is. I like them both. Actually, I like Saving Private Ryan a lot as well. Didn't have a problem with Red Dawn, but for whatever reason, you guys, you Tolos, are making it really complicated finding the best patriotic movie ever. However, I think the winner from you, from the Facebook, the comments on our Facebook page, from the comments from X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I think the Patriots the overwhelming majority favorite. So if that's what you guys want to go with, that's fine. 875 says, does Forrest Gump count? Well, that's what we were just talking about in the last segment. I don't think it does. I don't think Forrest Gump's a patriotic movie. We have a lot of Tolos who did text in and said it was a patriotic movie. It's up to you, I guess. I don't think it is. It's a great movie. One of the all-time best, right? But I don't consider it a patriotic movie. Texter from the 441, definitely Full Metal Jacket. Fat Page says, what does the Church of Scientology have on you? All right. On the Full Metal Jacket texter from the 441, I hate to disappoint you here. 417, I'm sorry. I have not seen Full Metal Jacket. Again, Diesel will tell you, I don't watch a ton of movies. I've seen some more patriotic movies than other. I love war movies, right? I have not seen Full Metal Jacket. Don't get mad at me. Don't come at me, bro, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Fat Page says, is radio patriotic? Are you kidding me? Radio patriotic? In what way? That's the dumbest question ever, texter 371. How would radio be patriotic? So I'm gonna lay the law. I'm gonna put the hammer down to end the program and say, no, Forrest Gump, hate to disappoint you, Forrest Gump's not a patriotic movie. As much as that may pain you and I to say, but it's not a patriotic movie. So I think our winner here is The Patriot. Not my winner. I like Top Gun Maverick better, but maybe I need to watch The Patriot one more time. It has been a while since I've watched it. It's been several years since I've watched The Patriot. But good suggestions. We talk sports all day long, Tolos, and we get a few texts here, a few texts there, but I love when we don't talk sports. It helps us prove to our bosses that, look, you guys care about non-sports topics just as you do about the sports topics, right? All right, closing the show. We talked about this in the Daily Wires, and I do want to get back to it now. It's a sad day for the local community of Greer, as the Greer Citizen announced today in its paper that it would be closing its doors at the end of the month. And, it's sad on a lot of fronts, but, the paper industry as we know it, I don't want to say it's completely gone, but it's on the way out, right? It's on its last foot. And we all love, what good journalists bring to the newspaper industry. But seeing a local paper, you think about it. Think about if you are old enough to remember, which most of you probably are, think about the papers that you had growing up. If you read the paper, to check out the sports and the box scores and the stats, which you can't find in a paper anywhere nowadays, right? Think about the papers that you had growing up, and obviously papers that have gone online, like we had Chapel Fowler on earlier, the state newspaper. They're very heavy online presence. The papers that have gone online have saved themselves in a way. I still think it's a dying industry. It's sad to see a local paper like the Greer Citizen go away. Sad to see really good people lose their jobs. I don't know how many it employed, but Trey Stewart, who we've had on this station before, comes on the Saturday Scramble with me a good bit. Hate to see a guy like him, who's a fantastic writer, does a really good job telling stories, and gives the schools locally here in the upstate really good coverage. Hate to see it for guys like him. But the Greer Citizen, another local paper, has closed its doors. Tough for that industry, really is. All right, hope you have a happy 4th of July. We will be off tomorrow. And remember, don't get too close to those fireworks.
Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus. What you doing, Terry? Terry, what you doing?
See you on Friday. All right, y'all. We appreciate you. Madcraft, Gordon, everybody watching. Y'all have a good one. Happy 4th. We'll see you on Friday.